The story begins with Rui, a 15-year-old boy who still doesn't have magical powers and is frequently bullied by his friend Helena. Helena is Rui's friend and intimidates him in every possible way because he lacks magical abilities. On this day, Helena, as usual, mocks Rui. In this world, almost everyone has at least some unique magical power, while Rui did not, which made him very upset. Additionally, Rui had problems not only with magic but also with sports, which made him even more upset. Unlike Rui, Helena learned to use magic at the age of 3, and during the growing process, Helena's number of magical abilities increased more and more. Furthermore, Rui became even more upset not only because of Helena's superiority but also because she could never understand all of his pain. Helena also trained Rui in magic, hoping that sooner or later he could also gain some kind of magical power. However, Rui was not very happy with the fact that it was Helena who was training him, which the girl did not like. At a certain point, Rui simply cannot bear all the constant attacks surrounding him, so he tells Helena that today he wants to practice magic alone. Helena was surprised by this decision and starts a fight with Rui in which she says that people like him can never learn magic on their own, trying to provoke Rui to fight with her. At one point, Helena collapses and tells Rui that since he is unable to even use the simplest magic, then he is as miserable as his deceased parents. These words touched Rui's soul deeply, as his parents died a long time ago when Rui was still very young. So, Rui, unable to contain all his anger with Helena, tells her that from now on he will no longer meet with her. Helena couldn't believe what she heard, simply stunned. Rui said he didn't even see Helena as a friend anymore because he was very annoyed with her arrogant behavior. With these words, Rui ran away from Helena towards the forest while Helena herself could not believe everything that had been said above. After this unpleasant conversation, Rui, after a while, managed to reach the forest where he decided to start practicing magic to prepare to cast the spell. Rui tries to use wind magic, however, as before, he is unsuccessful, which leaves him extremely disappointed with himself. Rui still couldn't stop thinking about what Helena had said about his parents. A little later, Rui regains his composure and continues to try to invoke wind magic. After several attempts, Rui again began to think that as usual he was not succeeding. Rui also realized that a different atmosphere prevailed in the forest recently. Rui thinks that the atmosphere in the forest became different because of the monsters that may live in this forest. He decides to leave the forest as quickly as possible. As Rui began to leave, he saw a very strange and bright hole in the ground from which emanated a very strong magic that even he could feel. Rui decides to go back and tell everyone about the hole, but due to negligence, he falls into the same hole. After the fall, Rui briefly loses consciousness. After a few minutes, he wakes up and sees that he is in some strange place where at first glance there was nothing. After waking up, Rui begins to remember everything that happened to him before he got there. While Rui was thinking, a beautiful and voluptuous woman in a revealing black outfit appeared behind him. Rui was very confused by the sight of the woman as he had never met such beautiful women in his life. Upon closer inspection, Rui realizes that the woman has small horns on her head, believing her to be a demoness. Rui had read in a book that demons are extremely cruel and cunning creatures who can control very strong magic. The beautiful woman confirmed Rui's guess, telling him that he immediately guessed that she was a demoness. Confused, Rui awkwardly introduces himself to the demoness and says that it was the first time he had seen a demoness like her. The demoness was very surprised by Hu's courage despite the elders of her village telling children about demons who are very dangerous to people. Despite this, Hui said that apparently he was not intimidated by this demoness because she was very beautiful. With these words, the demoness was very embarrassed because in the last thousands of years no one had ever praised her for anything, especially for her beauty. Rui realized how embarrassed the demoness was and immediately began to apologize to her for such unexpected words. After that, another girl appeared behind Rui who was already smaller and bronze-skinned, and she also had a long scaly tail and wings. Rui greeted the girl, which she did not like at all but was surprised by his courage. After that, the girl introduces herself as the 7th Dragon Queen. Upon hearing this, Rui became very worried since dragons were considered the most powerful race in the world. The girl was pleased with the way she introduced herself to Rui, thus surprising him very much. After that, the girl asked Rui if he knew who this demoness was. Upon hearing this, the demoness remembers that she never introduced herself to Rui. Then the woman introduces herself as Doroa, the 66th demon queen who rules over all the darkness and chaos of this world. After that, Roy was extremely scared and very shocked by what he heard at the same time. However, Roy still didn't fully understand if they really could be the Demon Queen and the Dragon Queen. Goddess thought that Roy and there was no way a Demon Queen just because he thought she was pretty while the Queen. Dragon didn't understand how easily Roy got embarrassed by her compliments. After that they started a small argument in which Roy thought they got along well with each other and probably were even friends. During this argument they both decided to reincarnate and show Roy their true form. In the process of reincarnation, Dara's clothes were torn almost completely while the Dragon Queen's outfit had completely disappeared. A scaly and hard layer began to appear in some places. At this moment Roy felt an extremely powerful flow of magic energy that he had never felt before. After reincarnation, the Dragon Queen turned into a huge and formidable dragon, and Deos found a new outfit even more revealing than before. After that Roy became completely convinced that there was a Demon Queen and a Queen Dragon before him. Roy remembered a legend in which there lived a hero a long time ago who had talent for magic, fencing and a kind disposition. Once this hero saved the world from the Queen of Dragons and the Queen of Demons, saving people from their villainy, after which he himself disappeared. Then Roy realized that these were the same Dragon Queen and Demon Queen that Siroi had imprisoned here. However, Roy didn't understand why they weren't defeated but only imprisoned here. At the time he assumed that the Queen of Dragons and the Queen of Demons were so strong that he couldn't defeat them completely but only imprison them in this empty space. Then he thought maybe they knew how to get out of here and decided to ask them about it. After Roy's question, Diosa told him that getting out of here was simply impossible. Then Roy became desperate to spend the rest of his life there. The Dragon Queen just added that if they knew how to get out of here they wouldn't be here anymore. After that the Dragon Queen decides to show Roy her seal that she received when she arrived here. The Dragon Queen said that this seal was placed on them by the hero who left them here in captivity for many years. She also added that it is because of this seal that their souls are now intimately linked to this place. Then Roy began to search for this seal on his body, and as it turned out he didn't have such a seal. Then Diosa began to undress Roy to try to find the imprisonment seal on him. As it turned out Roy really didn't have any seal and no one knew why he didn't have one. Then Roy said he got here after falling into a strange hole in the ground. Roa thought he came here because of an inexplicable accident. Roa also suggested that he could still get out of here. Hearing this, Roy said he was ready to do anything to get out of this strange place. Hearing this, the Dragon Queen and the Demon Queen were surprised by whose high promises. In turn he didn't fully understand what exactly they wanted from him. Then Diosa said that Roy could make a hole in this place through which he could get out. Roy then he said he couldn't use magic on his own, so he couldn't make a hole in this space. Diosa told Roy that he couldn't not use magic at all. Then Daiso offers to train Roy to increase his powers. Magic for a better understanding of H explained to Roy that magic is like a muscle and the more he uses it the more stronger it becomes, but despite this if he overexerts himself his magic can completely run out, so he can die from it. Roa also added that for the most effective training he will have to bring his condition almost to death as often as possible. Roa said that 500 years of training would be enough for Roy, which shocked him a lot, thinking he simply wouldn't live. Then the Queen of Dragons told Roy that time is different here, that here 1 year is equivalent to 1 day on Earth, so if Roy spends 500 years in this space only 500 days will pass on Earth. The Queen of Dragons said that if they train him he will be able to get out of here. Roy thought they wouldn't help him just like that, so they said that in exchange he would help them get out, and he couldn't refuse such an outcome of events. The next day Diosa started Roy's training, for which he was very grateful. Roa reminded Roy that it would take him 500 years to get all the strongest magical techniques. Roy wanted to know if time in this place really passed, as the Queen of Dragons said. Diosa said that this was true and that she herself once checked it with the help of magic. Then Roy remembered the elder in the village who took care of him when his parents died. He thought the elder would be worried about him and that after all this training he would definitely go back to him. He told Roa that he would do his best to get out of here as soon as possible. After saying that, she stroked Hu's head, praising his aspiration. Ru remembered how before his mother died she also your head gave Roy a pleasant warm sensation that he hadn't felt for a long time. However, Dios apologized to his father if he died here, making Roy's emotional mood turn even more depressing. While training with Dios, Roy practiced his magical skills for a long time. From such training, Roy crawled to the Dragon Queen completely exhausted. The Dragon Queen noticed from Roy's softened state that he was being taught very well. As soon as Roy regained his strength, the Dragon Queen was ready to train him. She said she would train Roy not in magic, but in a special Kaian technique. The technique was unique because it completely revealed the potential of any magician. There were very few people in the human world who used the Kaian technique, but this technique was not inferior to common magic in strength. The Dragon Queen told Roy that if he mastered this technique, he could easily defeat even a dragon. The study of the Kaian technique is based on 9 exercises that are divided into attack and defense exercises. Anyone who manages to master all the exercises will be able to overcome any difficulty in their path. Roy didn't understand why no one used such powerful magic. The Dragon Queen explained that this technique is very difficult to master. She also explained that in recent years it has become much easier for people to use magic, and everyone can safely use basic magic, while Kaian techniques need to be studied diligently for years. This didn't scare Roy much because for him, Kaian training should be as difficult as regular magic training. The Dragon Queen also added that a person doesn't need any talent to learn Kaian techniques, and that all training was based on meticulous training. Hui said he would do his best and could hardly wait to start training. However, the Dragon Queen didn't mention that Roy would have to memorize everything he learned. After an explanation, Dios appeared to them and said that the training program would change every week. The Dragon Queen thought that Hu should learn Kaian before Doroa could teach him to use magic. 10 years later, Roy ended up in hell. His magical abilities became much stronger. Der was happy with the result of his training but also understood that Roy needed to continue training. Der acknowledged all of Ru's progress and saw how he became a true magician. Boza was also surprised at how Roy never showed signs of fatigue during all the time of his continuous training. At the end of the training, Doroa told Roy that it was enough for today, but Roy claimed he could still continue despite his almost total lack of magical energy. Dios thought Roy had an unhealthy desire to master magical abilities, so she decided to tell him that he strives too hard to prove himself in all his training. She also added that despite how weak the wizard he was in his world, all his efforts brought him results. After that, Dios decided to transfer some of her magical energy to him through his magical channel. She explained to him that wizards like him had very little magical energy, so she could only transfer a little magical energy to him. She also explained that if he didn't use this magic, then his magical power would weaken, and over time he wouldn't be able to use his magic at all, which scared Roy a lot. After that, Dios started the process of transferring magical energy to Roy. While she was transferring part of her magical energy to him, she noticed that during all the time of his training, Ru's magical channels were more stretched compared to other people. After transferring magical energy, Dios continued to tell Roy that with each training, he and his magic were getting stronger. At first, such words from Dios touched Roy a lot since no one had ever praised him so much as now. A little later, he calmed down and told Dios that he was very pleased to hear such warm words of support. Roy also said that he was very happy to have come to this place and be with them, affectionately calling Der's sister. She was incredibly embarrassed by what Roy had called her, causing her to simply faint at first. Roy was very worried about Doroa, but the Dragon Queen told him that she was just crazy and would soon come to herself. After seeing this, the Dragon Queen told Roy to rest before training with her. During the training, Roy managed to do push-ups with a very heavy stone on his back. After that, the Dragon Queen told Roy to rest before the next exercise. She was pleasantly surprised by the appearance of the first visible results of his training. She also pointed out how after 10 years of training, Hu was able to master the Kaian technique. While thinking about Hu's skills, she noticed how he continued to hide from her and do push-ups, which she didn't like very much. She was very unhappy with this behavior, telling Roy that he shouldn't exert himself too much under any circumstances. Roy said that because he was extremely weak in his world, he should train as much as possible. The Dragon Queen told him that all this was absurd and that his constitution physics was more than strong and durable, which Roy simply didn't believe. He said he was the weakest and slowest in his world and that the Dragon Queen wouldn't be able to understand him because she was too strong. The Dragon Queen realized that Roy was a child with complexes and needed to fix that somehow. So she tells Roy that thanks to his effort, his constitution is getting stronger with each training. She explained to him that he considered himself weak just because before he simply didn't know how efficiently he could use his body. She also drew attention to the fact that his body has a very efficient regeneration, and he should be grateful to nature for being born so strong. Roy was deeply touched by the words of the Dragon Queen about his unique constitution. After that, he decides to ask the Dragon Queen about her parents. She replied that her parents died when she was very young and that she didn't even remember their faces. After this question, Roy began to feel a little embarrassed after his question, thinking it was unpleasant for her to remember. But instead, the Dragon Queen just laughed and told Roy not to think about it and that she also had a strong body that she received after birth. After that, Roy couldn't contain his emotions and ran into the arms of the Dragon Queen, thinking to himself that they had a lot in common. She didn't completely understand what was happening, to which Roy replied that she also worked hard. After that, the Dragon Queen realized what exactly was happening, and after a quick hug, she began to calm him down. After that, Roy felt better and said that in his time, the Dragon Queen was like he used to be, and that he wouldn't complain anymore. At that moment, Diyoza had already managed to return to herself, and she understood that everything had worked out between them. In the 100th year of his stay in the endless hell, Roy became much stronger, and he could even use some magic tricks. He wanted to show the results to the Dragon Queen and called her Rio. Then she remembered how Roy once asked if she had any previous name when she terrorized people. Everyone knew her as the Dragon Queen, and no one saw her as a person. After hearing this, he decided to call her Rio by name. Roy took Rio out of his thoughts and wanted to know if his magic had improved. Rio also said that his magical abilities had become much stronger compared to what he demonstrated in past training. After that, Rio began to praise Roy for being able to master half of all offensive and defensive movements in just 100 years. Later, Roy told Rio that every time she touched him, his heart beat faster. Rio was shocked by what she heard while Roy continued to say that her skin is very soft and that she smells delicious. Roy didn't stop praising Rio, which made her increasingly embarrassed. After that, she started hitting Roy for what he had just said to her, considering him a pervert. Roy didn't quite understand what he had said about her, thinking he had said too much at this moment. While thinking about what Roy had just said to her, she also thought about how he was embarrassing her at that moment. Diyoza approached them so she could discuss some issues with Rio about additional training, so Roy decides to leave Diyoza with Rio and continue training away from them. Diyoza drew Rio's attention to how they had become friends during training. She reminded Rio of how before Roy was there, they were constantly fighting to the death. Then they both realized how the endless hell had changed since Roy's appearance. Then Diyoza thought about how everything had become so fun for them from that moment on. After that, Roy decides to approach Der Roa with a question about his magical abilities. However, instead of listening to Roy, she tells him not to call her by her first name again. Roy then tries to remember how he should address Der Roa. When he remembered, he called her Dion and Chan, which almost made Der Roa faint. After that, Der Roa turned to Roy with open arms, and after that, Roy and Der Roa began a training session where Roy showed her his ability to use his fire magic. Der Roa was very pleased with how strong his abilities had become after 100 years in an endless hell. However, despite such a rapid increase in abilities, their celebration moment is getting closer and closer. At that moment, Roy runs to her to find out if she is satisfied with her abilities. But when Roy runs to Diyoza, he realizes that she has started crying. Roy was very upset because his little sister started crying suddenly. Diyoza, in turn, didn't stop crying and hugged Roy tightly, telling him that she was crying because of him. Without repressing her emotions, she promised herself that she would definitely bring him back to her world even if they never saw each other again for 300 years in an endless hell. Roy managed to learn to use the Black Flame, one of the most complex and powerful spells during all those 300 years of ROA and Rio training. They were pleased that Roy was able to master the magic that only high-ranking demons could use. De explained that she used to transfer part of her magical energy to Roy through magical channels from time to time so that he could use his magical abilities more effectively. She was extremely satisfied with how quickly Roy was able to master such complex spells. Rio said that in his training Roy is also making great progress and that he mastered all of Cheyenne's abilities after the ROA and our training. Once again praised Roy for his efforts and dedication. After training, Roy noticed that it was getting late and that it was time for everyone to go to sleep. With what Diyoza and Arv agreed. A second later Roy fell to the ground due to an unpleasant pain in his chest, and Diyoza and Rio immediately tried to figure out what happened to him. When they took off their outer clothes they noticed a barely visible gray military mark on him. Roy was scared while ROA and Rio were happy for him because such a mark appears only on professional warriors. Then Roy calmed down and wanted to know If Roa and Rio had similar marks, then Diosa raised her clothes a bit so that Roa could see her mark. She said that it represented the royal mark, which was of a higher status than the military mark, and showed that the owner of such a mark was worthy of the royal title. Rio also showed his mark on his palm, which meant it belonged to the royal family. Then Hui decides to find out what exactly is written on his military mark Roa, and read the content of the tag, and it was written that Roa is a demon and dragon warrior. With what he heard, Diosa was very happy and proud of Roy, immediately started hugging him tightly. However, Rio said that this mark is not complete and must be silvered to be fully completed. Who felt that to complete it he must train more and more. However, Rio said that his current body had reached the point where it should be at his age. In infinite hell no one ages, therefore whose body does not grow, which means he will not be able to exceed his maximum power limit of his magical abilities, and the only way to overcome this limit is to leave infinite hell. Roa tells Roy that now his abilities are more than enough to leave endless hell, so Roy decides to rest today and tomorrow he will try to leave a little later. Roy returns to the small house where he lived on vacation and gains strength. In a dream, Roy accidentally grabs something very large, soft and nice to the touch. When he wakes up he sees Roa in his front of Luri that he was holding by the chest. All the time Roa was very surprised that Roy decided to immediately hold her. This sight scared Roy a lot and he didn't understand what was happening. After that Roy was attacked by who was also in Luri. Roy was still embarrassed by this appearance of Roa and he still didn't understand exactly what they wanted to do with him. Then explained to him that as he would leave them tomorrow, she and should somehow say goodbye. Said that her strength and knowledge are not all they can give to Roy, so they told Roy that they could also give him their first time. After saying this, Joe immediately kissed Roy, which left him very excited. After the kiss, Roa continued to tell Roy how much she loved him. After Roa and Rio also started kissing Roy, showing all their affection for him. After the kiss, Roa drew attention to how embarrassed Rio was, which she denied. After that another fight started between Roa and Ru, in which they began to make up excuses, saying that this was happening for the first time. Roy could only silently watch their fight on the sidelines. After the discussion stopped, both were ready to move on to the defenseless Roy. Roy was very embarrassed and scared by the situation he involuntarily found himself in. However, Roa and Rio were already uncontrollable and ready to continue their fun with Roy. The next day Diosa and Rio explained to Roy that they needed him to leave endless hell. Roy just looked at Roa and laughed and thought about the day he was there. He couldn't forget the first exercises that tormented him to death. He couldn't forget those moments with Roa and Rio when he had so much fun with them. Roy knew those days of his life had come to an end and that today he would return home. After that Roy began to prepare one of his spells that would create a hole in space through which he would return home. Before Roy could create the portal, interrupts his spell to give him something important. Rio gives Roy his dragon fang earring so that he can use it to create a hole in space. Rio tells Roy to take his earring and channel all his magical power into it. Roy took Rio's earring, directed his magical power into it. In his hands, instead of an earring, he found a dragon sword. Roy was surprised by the strength of the magical power coming from his sword. Informed Roy that it was not a simple sword but a relic of his father made from his fangs. She also added that there are only 2 swords of this type in the whole world, and she gives one of these swords to Roy as a memento of them. Roy wanted to say that he couldn't accept such a gift from Rio, but she didn't listen and interrupted him. Rio continued to say that he was giving him this relic for a reason and that he should fully understand that if he didn't want to accept it. Roy then changed his mind and decided to accept the sword, promising Rio that he would appreciate it. Rio was pleased with Hu's decision and then explained to him how to properly use the sword. After a few minutes, Roy was ready to use the sword to cut through the space between the human world and the endless hell. Roy began to concentrate all his magical power on the sword, after which he made a strong and confident strike. After the impact, a large crack appeared in the air from which a bright light emerged. As the crack grew, Roy was already beginning to bid farewell to Roa and Rio without holding back his emotions. Before leaving, the 3 began to hug each other. Diosa wished Roy a safe journey and to be careful when returning to his world. Wished Roy good luck and said they would always be waiting for his return. Roy couldn't believe it was the end and that, after passing through the crack, he would finally find himself in his own world. He also thought that he would definitely free them from the endless hell to continue living with them. Before returning to his world, he told Diosa and Rio that he would definitely free them from here. Diosa and Rio just watched Roy, who was already leaving them, and a second later, Roy passed through the crack. after which it closed, letting Diosa know that Roy had left them. Rio told Roa that they were now alone in an endless hell for the first time in 300 years. Then Dios grabbed Rio and started crying, which Rio did not expect from her at all. Roa continued talking about how much she was already missing Roy, so Rio began trying to calm her down, thinking to herself that she had never done that before. Rio never ceased to be surprised that the Queen of Demons was capable of such emotions. When Diosa calmed down a bit, she decided to ask R if she missed Roy. R said she believed in Roy and didn't feel as lonely as before because she had Roy. After Roa had told her feelings, they dominated her again. Then she started to hug Rio tightly, calling her cute. Then Roa told Rio that if she felt lonely, they urgently needed to hug each other. After that, Diosa began to hug Rio firmly, who tried to fight her in every possible way. Rio became more and more anxious for Roy to return to them as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Roy was between dimensions through which he needed to reach his world. Roy also missed Ten and laughed that he wouldn't see him soon. However, he composed himself and thought he would definitely save him shortly. He then found another crack that should take him to his world. Roy then took out the sword that Ru gave him and struck the crack with it to make it bigger. When he widened the crack and passed through it, he found himself in the same forest where he found a hole in the ground through which he fell into the endless hell. It wasn't until seconds later that Roy finally realized he was finally home. Roy's happiness was simply limitless, and he decided not to hesitate and return to his native village. However, during his stay in the endless hell, he managed to forget the way home. At first, Roy wanted to climb a tree and look around, but as soon as Roy jumped, he was at a very high altitude. From such a height, Roy could look around and see the sea and his native village nearby. As soon as Roy saw all this beauty, he realized how small the world he lived in before was. At first, Roy wondered how he could save Roa and Rio, but he wasn't entirely sure he would succeed. So Roy planned to return home first to make sure nothing had changed since his disappearance. After arriving home, Hui prepared some things and was about to go to a very important place for him. This place turned out to be a large stone where his mother and father were buried. Roy apologized for his long absence and said that next time he would introduce Diosa and Rio to them. At that moment, Roy was followed by an elder who had raised and cared for him after his parents' death. The elder wanted to ask Roy where he had been missing all this time, to which Roy replied that it was a very long story. Hui apologized to the elder for being absent for so long and was very happy to see him. Then the elder invited Roy to go to him to have something warm, but Roy in turn created a large fireball and told the elder that he needed to go. The elder was shocked at how Roy was able to create such a fireball so easily. Roy said he was okay and that he was not as weak as before now. The elder saw in Roy's eyes an unprecedented confidence in his abilities and also said he would take care of Roy's house. Roy thanked the elder for his concern, after which he went about his business while Roy walked. Helena noticed him immediately and started telling Roy how angry she was with him. Helena thought that since Roy had returned, he wanted to make amends with her. Roy told Helena that his arrogance hadn't changed since she had left and that she should finally grow up. Helena was shocked by what Roy said to her since before his disappearance he didn't behave so boldly with her. Helena in a fit of rage immediately decided that Roy should answer for his words and was already preparing to attack him. However, against all of Helena's expectations, Roy manages to repel her attack without receiving any scratches. Helena was perplexed at how Roy managed to stop one of her strongest attacks. Roy told Helena that she couldn't see anyone around her and that she couldn't see the people around her getting stronger while her abilities remained at the same level. So Helena gets even more irritated and she again tries to inflict at least some damage to Roy. However, despite her swift attacks, Roy still manages to dodge each one of her attacks, and after that Roy decides to use one of the Kaiyan techniques, during which he delivers an enhanced kick to Helena's face. After such a strong blow, Helena fell to the ground, but even after that she didn't stop commanding Roy, telling him to hold on. Instead, Roy just bids farewell to Helena, telling her not to obstruct other people's path again. Helena still didn't stop shouting after Roy that sooner or later she would still be with him on the path. Roy remembers a conversation with Roa and Rwi, who discussed a plan for Roy to get them out of an endless hell. Goddess suggested first finding some information about the hero who imprisoned them, because only he knows how to remove them from the seals. Roy presumed that this hero must have died already, but Rio said that his relatives or his family might also know how they can be freed from here. So Roy decides that when he gets back home he will have to find the grandchildren of the hero. Along the way, Roy decides to first find out about the hero's grandchildren with the people in Iskador, the capital of the continent. However, Roy didn't know in which direction the capital was located and he decides to find a large accumulation of magic. The magic search technique is most commonly used by demons, while humans need a lot of magical energy to master this technique, so Rui focuses all his strength on using this magic to find large accumulations of magic that may come from the capital. After casting, Rui finds a large accumulation of magic, thinking it's in that direction that the capital is located. After Rui discovers the approximate location of the capital, he decides to use the flying leap, a Xian technique that allows him to reach a very high speed. Rui just took a small jump forward. He was already able to cover a very large distance in a matter of seconds. After several enhanced jumps like this, Rui decided to rest a bit, but when Rui stopped, he noticed a long line in front of him that was moving towards the entrance of the capital. Rui was a little worried because he had never been to the capital before and didn't know what to expect. Finally, it was Rui's turn and a knight demanded that Rui show his migration card. The knight realized that Rui didn't have any migration card and demanded that Rui leave the line. Rui was confused because no one had told him before that he should have some kind of migration card. Rui started to worry more every second, trying somehow to get out of the situation. The knight thought that Rui was going to enter the magic academy, but Rui didn't fully understand what the knight was talking about, so the knight told Rui to hurry, because the admission exam at the academy would start very soon. Then the knight let Rui into the capital and wished him luck in the exams. Rui was happy and at the same time also didn't understand why that knight was still missing him. Rui was in the capital for the first time in his life and he simply was amazed at how beautiful everything was there. Rui heard from adults that there were many people living in the capital, but there were much more than he thought. Rui went to one of the signs so that he could know some places in the capital. To the right of the sign, Rui saw a commercial area where people were selling various things since morning. To the left was the same academy that the knight had mentioned. Rui always dreamed of entering that academy and studying in it, but now he wasn't up to it. At first Rui wanted to find out something about the hero's relatives at the bar because you can always find various useful information there, but as he was still a child, he would be quickly expelled from there, so Rui thinks about going to a guild where he can have the opportunity to earn money by completing various requests and can also get a migration card with which he can travel to other cities and countries. After thinking a bit, Rui decides to join a guild and become an adventurer. Then a brave old woman appeared near Rui who thought Rui got lost on the way to the academy, so the woman grabbed Rui and dragged him forcefully towards the academy. On the way, the woman told Rui that the academy was made to compete directly with the empire that is growing larger every year. She also told Rui Kiri could easily pass the academy exam without presenting any documents. Balcos. Minutes later, they arrived at the very academy where the admission exams are taking place now. Rui already understood that he was now in a hopeless situation and now had no choice but to go for the exam. On the other hand, Rui wasn't upset about managing to get there. After Rui went to the counter, behind which one of the teachers was accepting new students remotely, Rui noticed targets hovering in the air on which new students displayed their magical abilities. One of the teachers told Rui that he needs to show his magical abilities, where he can use absolutely any magic. Rui noticed that a girl couldn't hit the targets with her magical abilities. Rui genuinely felt sorry for her, while the other candidates laughed at her and said she was completely inept. The next to show his magical abilities was Rui. Initially, Rui wasn't going to show his full strength but decided to show everyone what he had learned from Diosa and Ru at that moment. The others didn't understand who he was and which village he came from. The professor instructed Rui to begin, and Rui created a huge fireball that should knock down all the targets at once. The others were shocked by what they saw and didn't understand how Rui could use such powerful magic. After Rui used the magic, a large hole formed in the ground from which a lot of smoke emerged, while the others were scared of such magic. Rui was more than happy with his result. Rui decides to ask the professor if he succeeded, but the professor at that moment was lying unconscious on the floor. So Rui decides to ask another professor if he will be accepted with such abilities, to which the professor replied in shock that he may be accepted, after which Rui was sent to the next exam. Rui was very ashamed of the interest with which the others were talking about him at that moment. Yuri decided to address Rui, one of those who also decided to enter the academy. Rui didn't understand what a handsome man like Yuri wanted to know from a country boy like him. Rui greeted Yuri and said he was very happy to meet him, to which Yuri returned. After meeting Yuri, Rui decides to start immediately communicating with Yuring Tai since everyone here was exactly the same. Rui was very surprised by Yuri's expressive smile, thinking to himself that the girls were constantly after Yuri. Yuri draws Rue's attention to how many new unusual students are entering the academy this year. Yuri also told Rue that he thought she would be better among the new students, although Rue didn't quite understand who Yuri was talking about. Rue decides to ask Yuri about who exactly he is talking about, saying that he entered the academy very recently. At first, Yuri thought a bit, but shortly after, he and Rue returned to the topic of conversation again. Rue wants to know from Yuri how strong she is, to which Yuri replies that she is the granddaughter of the same hero. Rue was shocked by what he heard, since he didn't expect at all that the granddaughter of the hero himself would study there. So Rue decides to ask Yuri what she is like, which surprised him a lot at first. Almost immediately, the hero's granddaughter reveals herself next to Rue and Yuri as soon as she appeared. She immediately asked Rue if he was the same new student everyone was talking about now. When Rue told the hero's granddaughter that it was him, she told him that he seemed extremely pathetic. Then Yuri decides to intervene in the matter, saying that she doesn't need to insult Rue. After that, Yuri introduces Rue to Charlotte Dyla, the granddaughter of the legendary hero. Rue immediately recalls moments of his life when he admired the hero and his actions. He also thought that the Queen of Demons and the Queen of Dragons were not as described in the legends, but very, very kind creatures. Dyla interrupts Rue's thoughts and tells him that she won't let some boy just take her place in the academy. Then Yuri tells Dyla that all the exams have already ended and that there is no way to change the situation. Then Dyla puts her hand on her chest and takes off a white glove. After she takes off the glove, she throws it at Rue and challenges him to a duel. Everyone around was shocked by the fact that the granddaughter of the legendary hero challenged a simple country boy. Dyla tells Rue that if she defeats him, he will refuse to continue to enter the academy. If Rue still manages to defeat Dyla, then she will become his personal slave. Yuri tried with all her might to persuade Rue not to accept the challenge because it would be a completely irrational decision. On the one hand, Rue thought that he didn't need a slave, but on the other hand, he had the opportunity to learn something about the hero from Dyla despite Yuri's persuasion. Rue raises the glove and thus accepts Dyla's challenge to participate in a duel. After a few minutes, Rue and Dyla were already ready to start the battle while the rest of the students watched everything. Hells, one of the professors at the academy, was very worried about the duel because if there were victims among the students, he could suffer severe punishment. Yuri then reassured the professor, saying that he assumed full responsibility because he knew that the professor also wanted to know how Rue was. However, Yuri said that the professor should also judge what initially didn't please him very much. After that, Hell leaves and dictates the rules of the duel, in which the winner will be the one. The opponent lost consciousness or surrendered voluntarily. The professor also added that he could end the fight if he considered one of the opponents no longer fit to continue. Talia Russ also reminded the duel participants of those they killed during the forbidden battle. After that, Hells announced the beginning of the duel. Gilia thought that if Rue surrendered as quickly as possible, then the duel would end quickly after the duel announcement. After the duel, Dyla drew her sword with which she would defeat Rue. Initially, Rue was also going to draw his sword, which Rio left for him, but he remembered her words that Rue should only use his sword when there was a real threat to his life. So Rue changed his mind about using the dragon sword in the duel and decided to duel barehanded, which surprised Gilia. At first, Gilia was ready to attack Rue with the first blow, never forgetting that she was the granddaughter of the legendary hero. After that, Dyla, with all her anger, ran towards unarmed Rue, so Rue reached out and used the golden cocoon technique, which completely absorbed all the damage from the blow. Judia was shocked at how Rue was able to deflect the blow from her sword, which could cut steel with ease. After repelling the blow, Rue said that he was not a demon king, not a dragon king, not even a hero, nor the grandson of a hero, but that he was just an ordinary boy from the village. Dyla was still shocked by how easily Rue countered his attack with bare hands. The golden cocoon technique makes only a specific area of the wizard harder and more durable, while the steel cocoon technique makes the whole body of the wizard hard, but at the same time, his defense is less durable than that of the golden cocoon. Furthermore, the golden cocoon does not interfere with the free movement of the protected limb, making it very effective. Dyla tried again to inflict some damage on Rue, but he was able to easily repel this attack as well. Gilia did not understand how Rue could so easily deflect her blows since she was a skilled swordsman. So she decides to change her strategy to use many petal blades instead of a sword, which flew towards Rue. But despite the speed and quantity of these blades, Roe was able to dodge each blade without difficulty. Then Yu decides to use a myriad of these blades so that they certainly hit Roe and neutralize him. The professor thought it was too much and decided to stop the duel, but Yuri decided to stop the professor. Yuri drew the professor's attention to how confident and calm Hu's posture was, which could mean he could handle this easily. Roe was surprised at how many petals were flying towards him and felt that he needed to use very strong magic here. So Roe decides not to run away from the petals but rather to run towards these petals. Then Hu takes a high leap and uses a magical technique of a wide flame that burned all the petals flying towards him. Gilly was in unimaginable shock at how Roe could deflect both sword and magical attacks so easily. Then Dyla was overwhelmed by childhood memories when she trained hard with her father. Her father told her about the hero's mark that no one could obtain, and he told her that if she trained hard enough, sooner or later she would achieve such a mark, which in turn motivated her greatly. After that, a crowd of adults gathered beside her, who in every way touched her and said that she would definitely become the same heroine as her grandfather. Dyla promised that she would train all the time and that when she grew up, she would become a true heroine who would protect civilians from various threats. Gathering her thoughts, Dyla was about to attack Roy again with another blow. Moments before impact, Dyla was determined not to let Roy take her place in the academy. At the moment of impact, Roy uses the golden cocoon technique again to deflect the entire attack once again. Then Roy remembered those very moments of his life when Helena mocked him in every possible way, believing that he had absolutely no talent to master magic. At that moment, Roy thought that Dyla had also had a very hard time before and that she had dedicated all her time to training to become one of the best. So Hu decides to apply another Cheyenne technique, the golden sword grab, with which he not only blocks Yuta's next attack but also grabs the sword in his palm. Dyla was very scared at how Roy managed to grab her weapon so easily with bare hands. After grabbing the sword, Roy prepares to use the next Meteor Fist Cheyenne Tesk, which greatly increased the power of his fist attacks. Dyla considered these to be her last seconds of life and that she was unable to defeat Roy. However, Hu's fist manages to stop her fist a few inches from Gila's face, leaving her stunned. Roy decided to convince Dyla that the duel was over in his favor and that they no longer needed to continue the battle. Then Dyla became very scared and started crying, not understanding how Roy managed to defeat her so easily. Roy was very scared by Dyla's condition in which she is now. Then Roy realized that no one is with them now, so he decides to create a small dark space where no one can notice them.
A large black cube appeared in front of the others through which MC and hers could not be seen. Afterwards MC decides to check Utila's condition and try to calm her down. Later Utila realized that everything around her had disappeared and that she and MC were completely alone in a dark room. Our protagonist explained to Utila that he had created a special cube that blocked all external light and sound so that no one would see Utila in this form. Immediately after, MC began to comfort the scared Utila. Utila was both scared and surprised with so much concern for her, which made her very embarrassed. Utila decided to ask our protagonist why he was doing all this despite having spoken to him so rudely. Our protagonist simply said that if someone was in trouble, he simply helped the person. Upon hearing this, Utila remembered how when she was little, she also dreamed of helping people in need. She thought about how she hadn't understood such a simple truth before, so she apologized to MC for her behavior and accepted her defeat. She also admitted that our protagonist was much stronger than her, not only in combat and magic but also in his soul. Our protagonist said that Utila also demonstrated her battle leadership skills well and that he was especially impressed with her last spell. Our MC was about to remove the black cube, but Utila said that friends refer to each other as you, and that now they are friends. Rui did not oppose this, and they shook hands as the black cube began to crumble, and the audience finally saw how our protagonist and Utila finally emerged from the large cube. After that, Utila told all the spectators that she was giving up and that she fully recognized Hu's victory. Everyone was shocked by such a statement from the granddaughter of the legendary hero, and Utila said that instead of her, our MC should study at the academy. Master Rui just reminded Utila of the promise she must fulfill if she loses. Our protagonist remembered Utila's promise to become his slave, but he said he didn't need a slave. Utila said she wouldn't accept the fact that Rui refused to fulfill all the conditions and that she was ready to become his personal slave. Then Utila began to insist that if she lost, she should become Hu's personal slave. After that, she held Hu's hand and created a slave mark on his hand with which Utila must now do whatever Hu wants from her. But she wasn't upset, on the contrary, she was ready to follow all of Who's instructions. MC was once again embarrassed that the granddaughter of the legendary hero would become his personal slave after the duel. Our protagonist and Utila were welcomed to the academy by Yuri, who wanted to ask about the results of their exams. Yuri said he couldn't imagine anyone from the hero's family becoming someone's slave, which embarrassed and annoyed Utila. Yuri also wanted to know who they are to each other now. Jimmy just said he didn't tell MC because he believed that if he had said earlier that he wanted to be friends with him, he would have tried to distance himself from her. Our protagonist didn't understand anything and then decided to introduce himself to Ivan Exoder, the current prince of Exoder, Rui, was shocked by what he heard because he couldn't even imagine that he would personally meet someone from the royal family. So, he decided to address Yuri as master, to which Yuri himself said that friends shouldn't call each other master. After that, Yuri asked Rui if he had a place to stay overnight, as it was clear from his appearance that he was not from the capital. Our protagonist said he hadn't thought about it because he expected to resolve such issues as they arose. Yuri said he would try to somehow resolve the issue of our MC's place of residence, but also offered that he could spend the night at his house and would be well taken care of there, so he wouldn't need to worry about payment. After considering Yuri's generosity very suspicious, Dyla suggested he might have some ulterior motive for it. Yuri also mentioned that there is currently a great shortage of population in the capital and that if the academy's ranking increases thanks to students like him, then students from other countries will come to the capital. Yuri also added that if Rui were to go to the academy, he would support Rui in everything. Our MC thought that if Yuri helped him, it would be much easier for him to settle in and then it would be easier for him to find the necessary information about the hero. After these thoughts, he decided to become a student at the academy that night. Our protagonist spent the night in Yuri's room, and the next day he would seek information about the hero. As soon as he left, he saw Dyla near the entrance, who had been waiting for him to leave all morning. Our protagonist didn't expect to see Dyla, and she said she just wanted to come to him so that Dai wouldn't think something was wrong. He told her he was very happy to see her, after which his resentment turned to joy. After that, Dyla invited our protagonist to take a walk with her as she would show him various places. So, our MC and Dyla spent the whole day walking around the capital, visiting various places. During the walk, the protagonist thought that he now owed Dyla a great deal and that now he wanted to free Zosa and Rio. By doing this, he would himself value everything the legendary hero had done for this world. Then, he remembered his last night with Diosa and Rio when they all discussed together that the hero could still be alive. Diosa said that since the hero was able to create a place where no one ages like infinity, he could very well find a way to become virtually immortal. Then, Hui said that since he trapped Exos and Rio here, he is evil, and when he finds the hero, he will kill him. Then the boy said that there was no way they could kill the hero, because he was too strong for anyone to defeat him. Diosa considered that the hero couldn't just attack and imprison them, he must have some good reasons for it. These words didn't convince our protagonist at all, and he still wanted to end the hero since he couldn't simply forgive him for the fact that they were here. Dyla realized that something was wrong with Rui, to which he replied that he was fine. Then he snapped back to reality. He decided to learn something from Dil about the legendary hero, and she considered our protagonist to be one of his regular fans from his grandfather. Dilla said she didn't know much about her grandfather since 300 years had passed since he disappeared. So, Dyla told our protagonist that despite this, she has several family items among which there were also things from his grandfather that interested the protagonist of the story. One of these items was the France sword of Jasso that Dolly used in his duel with Rui and that was passed down in the hero's family from generation to generation. He began to look at the sword and couldn't take his eyes off it because while he was looking at the sword for some reason he just felt good in his soul. When Dillo handed the sword to Rui, the sword started emitting an unusual energy and our protagonist thought that the sword had some unusual magical power. After a few seconds, he returned the sword to Dahlia after he felt some unusual sensation from the sword was coming close to night. Our protagonist told Dahlia that it was already late for a walk and that they should both go home early. He wanted to take Dahlia home at first, but she invited him to spend the night with her alone. Rui thanked her. Dahlia for a day so wonderful in order to somehow dilute the situation that suddenly appeared. Dy supported Rui and said he would also like to spend the day together at some point. At the same time Dil thought she had a unique opportunity to make Rui remember how many guys from her surroundings began to confess their feelings for her when they found out she was granddaughter of a legendary hero. Despite the mutual interest in boys, Dil didn't meet with these boys because they were much weaker than her. All this time Rui was the only one who finally managed to surpass her unexpectedly because he and Dill reminded her that she was his slave, so Dill said she could do whatever he wanted for him without any exception. After that, Dill took Roy's hand and put it on his chest. He remembered again that past night when Roa told him that even though he loves them he should not burden his destiny. Roa said to our protagonist that she loved him very much but that they would both be very happy if he found someone who loved him for the rest of his life. He said that among all races only humans can have a partner while male dragons can have multiple females at the same time. Diosa said that male demons are also not limited to one individual and aristocratic demons. There may be dozens of women at the same time. He remembered Diosa's words that if he finds such a person with whom he wants to connect his life then he must even the last. But our protagonist told Dara that she was the type who got jealous all the time, and after that Kay and Diosa fought again. At first Roy thought he started communicating with Dyla just to learn something about the hero from her. However, after the duel and walking together she became more attracted to him, so our protagonist realized that Dyla had become the same person he wanted to protect from dangers and with whom he would live his whole life. The next day, RLR and Dyla were going to the gym, and on the way, Dyla couldn't stop complaining about unbearable pain. Roy suggested she use her regeneration magic, to which Dill just pushed our protagonist and told her to think carefully about her behavior. Dyla asked him to become her boyfriend and take on all the responsibility in the end. So he decided to take responsibility and agree to Helena's proposal despite his doubts and fear of changing course. The girl was completely surprised by this sudden turn of events, and it made her heart beat faster than she ever expected. A stranger approached the young couple and asked a question, wondering if they were candidates by any chance, expressing obvious confidence. He expressed the opinion that they were an extremely fragile and defenseless couple, which led them to think about their vulnerability in this situation. Additionally, they showed interest and they asked if the girl was the granddaughter of any hero or famous person. When the stranger tried to approach the girl she pushed him firmly and warned that if he approached again she would take extreme measures to protect herself, including even possible violence. Michael, that was the guy's name, he said to her in a pleading voice to refrain from such threats and hateful words. He tried to convince her of his friendship and intention not to pose a threat to the protagonist, but suddenly felt the need to apologize to them even though there was no clear reason for such action. Helena felt pleasantly embarrassed to hear the guy openly express his affection for her in front of others, and her heart began to beat faster with such unexpected sincerity. Michael didn't like the situation and decided to use his magical abilities to overcome the guy and show his strength. The main character was perplexed by Michael's motives for deciding to use magic in the city center, tried to unravel what objectives could be behind this inexplicable action. Of course, he couldn't just ignore it and decided to intervene to stop the stranger and prevent the possible consequences of his magical actions. He decided to use the stone machine gun in an attempt to stop Michael and his magical actions. This decisive action yielded results. Michael flew several meters away and lost his balance, unable to stand after the force of the stone machine gun. His comrades began to worry about him. They tried to calm him down, showing deep regret and remorse to the protagonist and Helena for what happened, trying to restore peace and resolve everything. The girl agreed with a smile to the guy's proposal to move on, realizing that the episode with Michael was behind them, and they could continue their adventure. As time was not on their side, they had to move more quickly, in a hurry not to be late somewhere along the way. So many people gathered around the building that they felt an atmosphere full of excitement and liveliness, and they had to push through the crowd to reach their goal. Helena asked the guy not to stand out among the crowd, warning that their enemies might start mocking him as they were surrounded by rivals. When the main character found out that the final results could be posted there, his determination didn't allow him to stop, and he headed to the place despite the girl's recommendation. He noticed that there were classes labeled as A, and the girl was sure they were probably in Class A. As it turned out, they were indeed found in Class Z. But none of them knew beforehand about the existence of such a class, which added to the mystery and unpredictability of the situation. Yuri warmly greeted the couple, creating a friendly and welcoming atmosphere in this unexpected situation. Along with Yuri, there was a mysterious stranger wearing a helmet reminiscent of knight helmets, giving this encounter a mysterious and fantastic touch. As it turned out, this mysterious helmeted stranger was Yuri's escort, and his presence added even more mystery and interest to this encounter. After exchanging brief introductions and discussing their expectations for their search in this new and unknown class, starting their adventure with excitement, the boy introduced himself as Jason and said his main role was to protect Yuri, which gave them an understanding of the seriousness of this mission and the need for cooperation. Yuri began to reveal that he wears a helmet to hide his true identity, hoping that he and the main character could maintain a good relationship despite this. Despite hiding his face, his mood didn't improve, and she continued to remain in a bad mood caused by the previous incident with Michael. Yuri just wanted to see the girl, and that's why he didn't share information about the class with her, trying to maintain the mystery and make the encounter more mysterious. It was discovered that this class is new for the school year. Previously, students were distributed according to their academic performance, but this year in Class Z, they decided to gather students with special abilities, which sparked interest and questions from Il, Rui, and Helen. We can say that this is a class where talented and unique individuals have gathered, creating an atmosphere of creativity and unconventional approaches to learning. If they had been classified, they would probably have been in Class A, but their performance was so exceptional that they were placed in Class Z, reserved for students with unique abilities based on the administration's decision. They were sent to classes considering their abilities and potential. Agar couldn't understand if Eurus was watching because everything seemed quite suspicious and mysterious, which caused her questions and misunderstandings. For the girl, it didn't matter much if Juris was watching or not because she felt confident and calm when she was with the boy. Their race seemed very hot. The boy politely asked her to slow down so they could move together and enjoy the moment. Jason remained confused as to why they needed to keep an eye on the couple, which made him curious and doubtful about the purpose of this mission. It was found that this class was populated by absolutely mischievous people, and even Yuri found it difficult to keep them under control and keep an eye on them. Jason believed that Rui had the skills and determination necessary to face this challenge and successfully resolve the situation in Class Z. If Yuri, having so much hope for the MC, means he invested a lot of hope and trust in the boy, and now the MC must live up to those expectations. His interest knew no bounds, and he could hardly wait to discover what the true expectation of Class Z was in order to unravel the mystery of this mysterious place. The boy and the girl quickly changed clothes and decided to explore the class to learn more about its students and the characteristics of this group in common. From the start, they didn't notice anything that might seem strange or unusual in this class. The MC's goal was to find true friends among the students of this class and build warm relationships, and he hoped that this would be possible despite his singularity and peculiarities. After recognizing the hero, they began to wonder if he was the winner of the duel during the exam, which left the MC a little surprised and happy that his deeds were known. After a positive response, their reaction seemed strange, as if they were ready to discover more details about the protagonist and were interested in his story in their own way. Helena showed willingness to unsheath her sword and engage in battle if the situation took a more aggressive turn, expressing her readiness to defend the main character. However, to everyone's surprise, the boy simply shook Ro's hand and expressed recognition, saying that the duel was very impressive and deserved praise. The boy began to express admiration and praise for the MC as if he were adoring him and saying how magnificent and skilled a duelist he was. Jack spoke of his skills in explosive magic, causing admiration and interest among those present, and his talents made him a quite popular figure in the class. Behind Jack was a tall boy named Emmy, and next to him was Lex. The introduction of everyone in the class became more informative and welcoming. Jack hoped that the MC would be able to make friends with them and find common ground, which was an important aspect for him. For the entire class of ZCL to have received such a warm greeting from the students of the class, the MC felt that his fears and concerns were in vain, and he was ready for new acquaintances and adventures in this common class. The girls also showed support and greeted the boys with a smile, beginning to get to know them and chatting with them, which created a friendly atmosphere in the class. The MC was drawn to one of the students and started a conversation with interest in getting to know him better, feeling that this class could bring him many contacts and interesting experiences. It was found that this student was not in a good mood but rather exhibited aggressive behavior and anger, which left the MC a little perplexed and unsure of his actions. The main characters felt perplexed, not understanding what could have gone wrong and wondering if they might have made a mistake or had a bad experience that caused this student's aggression. Since the MC was from a village, he might not be aware of some customs or practices of the city that could explain his negative attitude and dissatisfaction. And this happened because it was forbidden to have slave beasts in the capital, but in other large cities, this practice continued, causing discontent among many beasts and creating a conflict between them and ordinary people. The main characters wondered if they would ever be able to become friends with this student despite the initial tension and conflict, and they hoped that the relationship would improve when the girl tried to say something to the guy. His attention was. One of the girls in the class caused some misunderstanding and irritation by ignoring the guy. He couldn't help but notice she was incredibly beautiful, as if she had stepped straight out of a painting, which caught his attention and sparked his interest. Stuttering slightly, he greeted the girl, trying to compose himself and be polite in front of her. However, he only received a cold disdain from the girl, leaving his feelings somewhat hurt and disappointed. Helena couldn't stand this behavior and was surprised at how the girl dared to ignore the guy, causing her indignation and perplexity. She displayed a pretentious behavior and stated that there was simply nothing to talk about with him, causing additional irritation and perplexity on Helena's part. Helena was perplexed and disappointed with such an unpleasant response, completely contradicting her hopes of friendly communication with the students in the class. Her nerves were already shot, and she felt very irritated, ready to explode and tear the girl apart right then and there for her rude and unpleasant behavior. Nokio, the guy, had already established relationships with everyone and also added that the teacher was already heading towards them, and they needed to quickly take their seats. Yuri introduced herself again and greeted the guy, showing her sympathy and willingness to communicate despite previous issues. It was clear from the main character's look that he felt satisfaction with the new class, as from that moment on, his life in the academy begins, and he is ready for new challenges and adventures. One day, a teacher was explaining something to the children with great diligence, trying to convey important information and knowledge to them. The teacher explained that in this way, water magic uses moisture from the atmosphere to achieve its goals, sharing knowledge about magical processes with the students. The guy disagreed with the teacher and said that water magic was probably also capable of controlling underground waters and water sources, expressing his own view and understanding of magical processes. 2 weeks had already passed since they entered the academy, and the main characters were studying magic and adapting to the new learning environment. Everyone present was surprised at how clearly the guy explained the material, and his ability to convey knowledge aroused admiration among students and teachers. When they returned from practice, they noticed that all the chairs were scattered around the classroom, causing surprise and perplexity among those present. It was very cruel, and the children couldn't understand who had made such a mess and spread chairs around the classroom, causing indignation and irritation. One of the guys wanted to ask some questions and find out what had happened to better understand the situation. He decided to find out who had created this mess. He was sure they left traces or evidence that would help solve this mystery. Oscar began to use magical analysis to find clues or magical information that could lead him to discover the villain causing chaos in the classroom. This was exactly what the guy expected from Oscar, trusting in his magical abilities to solve the mystery and find the culprit. Oscar announced that he had these magical abilities thanks to the guy's help, which caused interest and surprise among the others. Thus, he was able to develop his analysis skills and ability to analyze more than just a table. Thanks to the training and lessons the boy gave after school, Oscar noticed the hair and shoe marks of a classmate that could be a clue as to who caused the mess in the classroom. Oscar was truly impossible to deceive, and his unique skills in magical analysis allowed him to reveal details that went unnoticed by others. It turned out the boy was expelled from the village for abusing magic, which explained his strange and hostile behavior. He rejoiced at the opportunity to use magic and realized he could now be useful and contribute to solving the mystery of the disorder in the classroom. The boy provided information about who invaded the classroom and caused chaos, sharing his knowledge and observations to help resolve the incident. Oscar, not wanting to get involved in conflicts and fights, decided to stay away and not join the class that would likely investigate the situation. He could rely on his friend and assured him that he could manage without his help, expressing confidence in his abilities. At that moment, Jack, Alex, and Michelle were ready to support their friends and help if needed. They all had a common goal: to catch whoever broke the rules and created chaos in the classroom to restore order and calm in the academy. Jack asked the main character if he could start already, expressing his readiness to intervene and help investigate the incident. Breaking down the door, the boys stormed into the classroom ready to start an investigation and find the rule breaker. They were confident they could win this battle and solve the mystery of the classroom incident, relying on their skills and dedication. It seems that all the suspects are planning to feign innocence and hide their involvement in the incident. A stranger approached the boys, and the main character immediately felt he had seen him somewhere before. It seemed like he was from the aristocracy or another high class. The main character apologized for barging into the classroom suddenly, explaining that one of the troublemakers from his class disrupted the lesson, and now they're trying to find the culprit and restore order. The stranger asked if it was too early to suspect him, expressing doubts about their assumptions about who could have disrupted the lesson. The stranger also added that in his class, there are many students from disadvantaged families, which may make it difficult to find the culprit and understand the situation. After these words, Jack became furious. He was ready to tear the stranger apart, feeling angry and defending the honor of his class and friends. Understandably, the main character realized that the stranger only wanted to provoke them and began to think of a strategy on how to remain calm and investigate the incident in a smart and effective way. He asked Jack to trust him and trust his decisions so that the investigation would run more smoothly and efficiently. The boy began to take something unknown out of his pocket, causing interest and expectation among all present. The main characters carefully examined the hair Oscar found for them in the classroom and began to analyze it, hoping to find any clues or traces of the culprit in. The stranger asked how Oscar managed to figure out who the hair belonged to, expressing curiosity about the methods by which Oscar used his magical powers to determine the owner of the hair. The boy began to talk about how they did a genetic analysis and compared the data with. The main characters discovered they wielded magic capable of time reversal, causing hair to return to its owner's head, astonishing everyone present with their uncommon magical power. In other words, they found out the hair belonged to a stranger who was involved in the incident with the chairs thrown in the classroom. The stranger couldn't comprehend how this was possible because not all high-class magicians could use time magic, which surprised and confused him. He pointed his wand at the boy, preparing to possibly use his magical powers in response to the discovery of his wrongdoing. The stranger admitted he was going to purify and remove the main character from the class, implying there might be measures to expel or punish him. He warned everyone present to prepare for punishment or consequences of the purification that would cover the entire classroom atmosphere. The main character realized that pointing wands without sufficient reason was not only against the school rules but also against the law of magic in general. In this situation, it was more a matter of self-defense, and there was no longer a need to hold back. It was time for retribution and protection of their interests. Afterward, the classmates began to develop a strategy together to avoid potential negative consequences and to protect themselves and their class. The man ordered everyone to cast spells, calling them to take an active stance in the situation. The main character realized that people were gathering near the class and decided they needed to avoid direct blows and being hit by them. Michael decided to take responsibility and act independently in this situation. He chose to use a technique known as the shield to protect himself and his comrades from attacks. Jack confessed to Michael and said he would take additional measures to deal with the situation. Jack decided to use his powerful technique called the bomb to deal with the stranger and his threats. All wands instantly exploded in their owner's hands, causing chaos and panic in the class. This unexpected explosion, of course, was not part of their plan, and they expected an easier victory. Now the students were absolutely certain that victory was not part of their plans. The students began to discuss precautions and rules for the use of magic to avoid such situations. Among them was a man who was ready to deliver the strongest blow to Alex. His determination and aggression could be seen in his eyes. He wouldn't allow such an easy victory for his opponent. Instead of allowing the blow, he decisively activated increased power in his legs. Because of this unexpected reaction, the guy couldn't hit him at all. His blow was completely useless. All subsequent attempts to harm this guy also ended in failure. His incredible agility and reaction made him untouchable to his opponents. He ridiculed them and noticed that they were too. Slowly and with such ease that one could even yawn without fear, they still couldn't unravel his whereabouts, and he remained an inaccessible mystery to them. It was at this moment that Alex suddenly appeared, delivering his decisive blow, which proved to be irresistible. Furthermore, it seemed he also overdid it, leaving his opponents completely unconscious. Not only did he hit them, but he also overestimated his strength, rendering the opponents completely out of action. He asked, who can now be considered evil in this situation under the influence of the protagonist? Therefore, he began to plead for mercy and assured his readiness to fulfill any request. However, the condition was that he would have to obey not only the guy but also everyone else, following their orders. The main character is ready to deliver the decisive blow in this epic battle. The blow was so devastating that the man turned and fell to the ground, groaning in pain, while his opponents were astonished by the hero's power. The blow was so powerful that it simply pierced the wall with his body, leaving a huge hole in it and causing shock among all the spectators. Such an impressive spectacle seemed incredibly epic, forcing everyone around to applaud the hero. The hero's friends were proud to have been part of this incredible victory and to have witnessed his courage. So, they raised their hands to each other to symbolize and strengthen their friendship and unity. However, when Yuri learned of the boys' feats, he was overcome by anger and clearly did not approve of their actions, not proud of them. Jack was busy cleaning, and this was not his first endeavor in this matter. Within himself, he admitted it was his own fault that things had come to this point. Yuri tormented himself with self-recrimination for simply not being able to follow through on his promise to not allow such situations to happen again. This calmed them down, and they felt the obsession release from their souls. Then the main character approached Yuri and sincerely apologized, realizing that he was probably suffering because of his actions. He honestly admitted that from the beginning, when he decided to take this step, he expected such situations to happen quite frequently. Yuri's voice was very tired, as if it were the echo of a long and hectic day. As he still dealt with his actions, he couldn't have a good night's sleep. The protagonist felt incredibly uncomfortable and uneasy realizing that his actions had led to this situation, and now his relationship with his friend had become tense and uncomfortable. At this moment, the main character noticed that everyone around him continued training, and his own experiences seemed small compared to their determination and diligence. Inspired by their determination, he also decided to take a walk to relax a bit and take his mind off the unpleasant situation. Upon leaving the room, the main character saw a stranger with a smile on his face approaching him and greeting him cordially. This unexpected gesture of goodwill bathed him in a magical light, dispelling the tension that hung over Rui after an unpleasant situation. The stranger, showing interest, asked if the main character was Rui, apologizing for his sudden appearance. The main character tries to explain that everything is fine. They talk about the latest events that Rui encountered, and the result of the recent events. Rui discovered that the boy's name was Madison, and he was in class 2A, which added a new dimension to serve them. Rui warmly shook Madison's hand, expressing respect and showing his readiness for friendly communication. Med-san was just curious to know what Rui was like, since there were rumors about him. He wanted to see the boy in person, since strangely these rumors were related to yesterday's incident that everyone was talking about. Med-san suddenly began to approach Rui as if they had found a common language and the conversation became more frank and friendly. Med-san felt ready to tell Rui something important. With a look of trust he made it clear that he had a story to share with him, and Rui was ready to listen. Rui listened carefully to Med-san, who said that although Rui is strong, in this world there will always be people even more powerful and terrible than him. At this time the main character was worried about her charisma and ability to impress others. Rui sincerely thanked Med-san for her honesty and warned about the powerful and scary people in this world, feeling that his new friend truly cared about his well-being and safety. However, in his thoughts, Rui knew very well that there were two people whose power and influence matched his. Med-san decided that he probably shouldn't worry about it, as meeting such people was unlikely, and would rather focus on what he had now. Then he began to say goodbye and announced that it was time to leave, leaving Rui with the idea that their meeting was unexpected and interesting. Rui realized that Med-san was really a very mysterious person and their brief meeting left a mystery in his soul, and suddenly, as if he was in a hurry to go somewhere, Med-san said goodbye and left the place. Rui was left with a feeling of mystery and inexplicable secrets. Rui's gaze revealed many secrets and mysteries that one day he may have to reveal. Upon arriving home, Rui immediately threw himself into bed and realized that he was extremely tired. After a difficult day, Rui was so exhausted physically and emotionally. It was clearly a consequence of his hard and tedious work to restore the room that had been damaged. He was proud to realize that he worked hard. Despite the challenges he managed to rebuild the room alone, which filled his day with satisfaction and fulfillment. Rui woke up and looked around confused, having difficulty discerning whether it was already morning or still twilight. With a deep feeling of confusion and perplexity, Rui realized that he was surrounded by a unknown space. He was far from his familiar environment, which made him feel a mix of anxiety and surprise. He, however, was sure that even though that place seemed endless and incomprehensible, his younger sister and Rio would always come to his rescue and support him. Suddenly, he realized that he felt nothing, and doubts arose as to whether that place could be an endless hell. The girl behind him approached Rui and gently asked him to remain calm. As if sensing his anxiety and helplessness, she confirmed his words that this was indeed an endless hell. They invited Rui to sit at the table. She said they needed to talk and try to understand this strange situation they found themselves in. The boy felt a slight tension when he decided to sit at the table in that mysterious environment. Before drinking the tea that was offered to him, he asked himself whether it was worth doing so, as the situation remained uncertain and mysterious. Despite his initial doubts, Rui was pleasantly surprised to discover the exquisite flavor of the tea and the warmth that enveloped him after the first sip. With a cup of tea in his hands, he couldn't help but question her identity and how they were related to this strange situation. It turns out her name was Chris and she was assigned to manage this never-ending hell, which added mystery and intrigue to their encounter. After such words, the main character instantly stood up, ready to defend himself, feeling an unexpected surge of tension and danger. However, she again asked him to calm down and assured him that she was not an enemy and that her intentions were good. Mixed feelings of uncertainty and anxiety remained in her heart, and he felt he needed a clearer explanation of her role and purpose in this strange reality. It turned out that the reason was quite simple: the main character accidentally removed the seal from Endless Hell. This happened because in the real world he received an item from the hero, thanks to which the seal that guarded Endless Hell was removed. It was clear that the boy was shocked by what he heard, as he had just discovered that he had accidentally released the Endless Hell, which came as a shock to him. Remembering the moment he held Charlotte's sword, he felt some kind of power coming from her. It was clear to him that it was at this moment that the seal was removed, revealing the Endless Hell. He learned that if he collects all of the hero's items, the seal of Endless Hell will be completely removed and he can return to the real world. Rui began to think that a joint effort with Charlotte could be more effective and safer than an individual search for an unknown hero, whose fate he knew nothing about. He was confused, wondering why the girl who apparently ran this place was willing to reveal information to him about how to undo the seal of Endless Hell. Chris admitted that the goal of Endless Hell has already been achieved and now it seems strange to him that this hell still exists, so he decided to help Rui correct the situation. The guy was completely confused and could not understand exactly what the girl was talking about, since the information about the purpose of Endless Hell was unexpected for him. Rui became even more confused and insecure about what was happening when he learned that the girl had no right to reveal information about the purpose of Endless Hell. He began to realize that the entire situation was actually much more complex and mysterious than it initially seemed. After sincerely asking for forgiveness, the girl tried to explain that she was not allowed to reveal details related to the purpose of the Endless Hell, but that she was ready to help him find the answers. Together, the girl explained that the main character is not physically present there, so she will be able to return to the real world when she collects all the hero's items and removes the seal. It turns out that he was called to this world to acquire the experience and skills necessary to complete the task of collecting the hero's items and breaking the seal of Endless Hell. Thus, Rui began to understand that his role in this world was becoming clearer, and he was ready to face the challenge and help Chris achieve this goal, as he had the opportunity to acquire the skills and experience necessary to fulfill this important task. Concentrating, Rui tried to think about swords and, to his surprise, he saw swords appear before him, ready to be used. It was an indescribable feeling of power and control over the world around him. Chris, not wanting to waste time, decidedly announced that they would start training, and Rui was ready to start learning and using his new swords. Under the influence of unknown forces, he instantly dodged the blow without any apparent explanation, causing surprise and admiration for both him and Chris, who realized that Rui had unique abilities. He was impressed by the event, as his head almost flew off. It was so surprising to dodge a blow. In the final stage of training, she warned him that if he died in this world, he would never wake up in reality. This gave seriousness and importance to the entire situation. Chris remembered that everything they were going through was just training, and that Roy still had an exam that would test his skills and readiness. Roy couldn't help but notice that the girl, despite her sex, was extremely strong and skilled with a sword, which earned him respect and admiration. Chris noticed that the main character didn't seem to have learned how to use a sword and decided that they had a lot of work ahead of them to overcome this deficiency and achieve success. Although he had no experience, the boy already had some techniques taught and was ready to use them in battle. He used the glow technique to create an instantaneous flash of light, blinding his opponent and gaining the upper hand in battle. However, from the expression on the girl's face, it was impossible to determine whether she was alarmed by this reception, for she remained calm and resolute. Roy realized that he needed to use his intelligence and techniques to compensate for the difference in speed and be more effective in battle. Under the pressure of the fight and the stress, his nerves failed him and he decided to use his super enhancement to increase his abilities and chances of victory. With his super boost, he delivered a powerful blow, putting all his strength into trying to turn the tide of battle in his favor. Roy's strength and determination impressed even Chris, and the battle became much more intense and interesting, as both fighters sought the advantage using their magical bodies. With this powerful attack, Roy managed to establish his dominance in battle and highlight his unique abilities. Chris, despite her strength, was forced to succumb to Roy's power. Realizing that it was useless to continue fighting, the girl asked to stop and recognized that Roy's strength lay in the fact that he was not limited to a certain form and was able to adapt to the situation. Despite the defeat, Chris reacted quickly, using his shield to deflect Roy's attack and protect himself from the consequences of the powerful blow. The main character continued to demonstrate his unique ability to adapt and magical power, which allowed him to overcome obstacles and achieve success in battle. Chris recognized his incredible abilities and decided that she must find out more about this mysterious guy. Gathering the last remnants of strength and determination, Roy prepared for the final blow, knowing that it would decide the outcome of the battle. However, for some unknown reason, he suddenly felt a severe headache and began to faint, which caused alarm and perplexity in both him and Chris. Moments before, he could have defeated the girl, but a sudden frost stopped him in his path to victory, leaving him perplexed and with a headache. Chris, however, had no intention of killing him, and her small body did its job to protect him at a time when he was in trouble. Sakura, symbolizing beauty and renewal, can become a sign of hope and a bright future for a guy who has gone through many difficulties and trials. Chris understood that she trusted the main character because the fate of the world was in her hands, and she believed that he could handle the difficult task that lay ahead. When the guy woke up, she felt that his whole body was hurting a lot, probably from the effects of intense training and fighting in the endless hell dimension. Roy noticed that there were no wounds on his body and began to realize that perhaps he had never physically been in endless hell, and that all of this was happening in another dimension or state. Dimensional cutting technology was explained as an advanced technology, mixing magic and science. When this technology is combined with dimensional cutting, a true dimensional cutting is created, which could explain everything that happened in infinite hell with an opponent who is equal in strength. Roy realized that even without a physical weapon, he could use magic to fill the gaps in his sword technique and skills, becoming stronger in battle. Despite this, Roy had doubts that a girl could be better than him in combat or with the sword, which could cause some doubts. By focusing on ball training, he realized this was the way to improve his technique and skills, and he was ready to learn and develop to become better. The inner fire and determination burned within him, and he was ready for hard work the next day. When the boy arrived at school, he was immediately welcomed and felt part of the community, preparing him for new challenges and adventures. During recess, they decided to spend time chatting amicably, discussing past events and future plans. As he looked into the distance, Roy swept the vast expanse of his gaze and suddenly his attention was attracted by the presence of someone who had already arrived, the same bodyguard as Yuri, whose job was to guarantee his boss's safety. He was surprised when the young man expressed his need for help with sincere bitterness in his voice, telling how he was expelled again from the place where he had found temporary refuge, longing for great improvement. The main character expressed the wish that the same bodyguard would teach him the art of wielding a sword to improve the effectiveness of his training. He decided to ask Charlotte for help in this chaotic duel, where Charlotte attacked with a sword and the character tried to defend himself. Feeling an urgent need to learn attack and defense to become a true master of the sword, the main character admitted that he would pass on the ancient technique known as the King's Defense Sword. Thus began an exchange of knowledge and skills, where the protagonist became Charlotte's teacher in the art of magic, while she became his mentor in swordsmanship. This union promised them not only power and skill, but also the strengthening of friendship and mutual respect. Silently watching as those around him strived for excellence, the main character couldn't help but notice that their zeal began to rub off on him, instilling his own share of inspiration and desire for clear self-development. Rui happily accepted this dynamic atmosphere and probably wanted to become stronger, accepting the influence of others on his character and improving with them. Therefore, they decided to apply their efforts in moderation towards their goals and excellence, supporting each other on this important path. The main character offered his support to the boy in his aspirations, undertaking alongside him, ready to help and inspire him in achieving his goals. After some time, the main character found himself again inside the endless hell, where he continued his training in search of perfection. This time, his vision was more confident and he approached training with more determination and self-confidence. This visible progress in his efforts encouraged not only him, but also those around him, including the girl, whose faith in her abilities became even stronger, and they continued to support him on his path to excellence. He improved a lot and was even able to counterattack his opponent, which was a clear indication of his improvement and growth in his fighting skills. She noticed that he had started training and realized that his persistence and determination in the process did not go unnoticed. The main character openly admitted that he has many teachers and is taught by people who have exceptional sword skills. Chris realized he was serious and realized that his desire to excel and achieve his goals was a true priority for him. Rui asked why his sister and Rio weren't in endless hell, expressing his concern and worry about his absence. Chris began to explain that she and he were on different floors of the never-ending hell, separating them in this world but keeping in touch. This knowledge about the second floor sparked his great interest and desire to explore this unexplored area of infinite hell to learn more and perhaps meet his sister and Rio in a new level of this mysterious world. The girl was forbidden to say who exactly was on the second floor, and this rule added even more mystery and intrigue to her communication with Rui. The main character was a little upset by these words, as the hope of finding his sister and Rio was overshadowed by the ban on disclosing information about them. Chris admitted that it seems like the guy in her world actually met the main character's granddaughter, which caused surprise and joy among everyone. It turns out it was Charlotte, and the main character admitted that they were friends, which added new threads of connection and understanding between them. At first, she resented him, but after a duel between them, their relationship changed drastically. She began to see him as a true friend and ally. It turns out that she is actually quite lonely and strives to become stronger not only for herself but also for others, and this additional point added even more depth to the exploration of her character and motivation. Chris was sure that she lived happily, but at the same time it was important for her to share this joy and happiness with others, so she strived to become stronger and more useful to others. The main character admitted that she also helps him with life's activities, and their interaction ended up being mutually inspiring because they supported each other in finding their own strength and meaning in life. 6 hours have already passed and the main character has begun to become transparent. They will have to say goodbye soon, leaving behind important transmissions and inspiration for future endeavors. Before leaving, Chris stopped him to express his gratitude and promised to continue his journey towards excellence in his absence. She asked him to watch over the Genesis sect and stay vigilant, warning against potential dangers in his path. The girl couldn't tell him the details, but she assured him that when he solved the mysteries of endless hell, he would definitely have to contact her and find out more about the Genesis sect. She emphasized that he must be vigilant and careful, otherwise he would risk being left with nothing when revealing the secrets of the endless hell and the Genesis sects. After this important information, the main character began his journey back to his world, with the hope of future contact and a deeper understanding of the endless hell and its secrets. It was clear from the girl's facial expression that she was sincerely concerned about the main character, and her concern was a reflection of her strengthened connections and friendships. At that moment a change occurred, and the main character and the girl, leaving in their hearts the hope and promise of meeting again, separated for a while to continue their studies and adventures in their worlds. The main character was very bored without her and felt that in her absence something important and special had left his life. Since Charlotte was busy, he needed to find someone to hang out with to alleviate his boredom and loneliness. Feeling hungry, he decided to go somewhere to eat and satisfy his appetite, passing the time usefully. At this moment, he heard that an argument was happening somewhere nearby, which made him stay vigilant and cautious before proceeding further. The main character immediately decided to approach and find out what the problem was, ready to offer his help if necessary. It turns out that the same angry guy from class was arguing with someone, and the situation seemed tense and potentially dangerous. However, it turned out that he was the wolf, and the main character was familiar with his difficult character and tendency to conflict. The main character approached the wolf and asked what had happened, showing interest in what caused the argument and conflict. As it was difficult to obtain information from the wolf due to his anger, the atmosphere was very tense and everyone around was irritated and dissatisfied, which created an unpleasant atmosphere. After the man said that it was precisely because of this aggression that he hated these people, the main character became furious, as this hurt and caused a wave of emotions. Rui intervened in the conversation and asked what had happened, revealing an interest in the conflict and a desire to resolve the situation. A classmate was accused of stealing property from a man, which led to disagreements and conflicts. The main character asked him to tell, at least in general terms, what exactly happened. The man began to say that a thief had entered his store and he was sure that a colleague had stolen his merchandise, which led to these accusations. After he left, it became clear that the store window had been broken, adding an additional element of mystery to the situation. Soon after calling the police, he himself decided to start a search, and his colleague had his property stolen, which led to the resolution of the conflict and the restoration of justice. But the man didn't believe the guy could have done it alone and with confidence. He wondered how exactly the item was returned, leaving doubt as to whether the guy really could have done it himself or if there were some hidden aspects to the story that he hadn't noticed. The boy often heard that beastmen were accused without reason, which made him fear that he would be caught and accused without providing proof of his innocence. Thus, the main character decided that he would find the real thief to clear his name and prove his innocence, promoting justice in this difficult situation. However, these words did little to calm everyone and the tense atmosphere remained unchanged, highlighting the complexity of the situation. Rui asked if this colleague was running fast, trying to find any evidence that could confirm or refute his guilt. So, the main character decided to use magic to help solve this mysterious situation and find the real thief. He chose to use the veil of smoke to create confusion and try to hide, perhaps giving them more time to think and act. Immediately, they disappeared from the man's line of sight, leaving him in panic and bewilderment. They tried to leave the danger zone and Rui took the boy to a safe place to warn him about the possible consequences of the robbery and the conflict. The man could only think about where his colleagues could have disappeared, leaving him confused and with unresolved doubts. Understandably, the man was furious after this act, and his feelings were so agitated that he was able to make hasty decisions in an attempt to unravel this mysterious situation. He started to get angry at the men beside him because they couldn't help but see how his colleagues ran away, increasing his anger and disappointment. They could not understand what to do now in the face of the growing chaos of unexpected events. They decided they just needed to ask the academy for help on how to look for people competent to solve puzzles and face difficult situations. While one of them asked for help, the other began a search to deal with the situation in the most effective way possible. During all this time, the colleagues sat on the roof observing everything that was happening, remaining in a safe place so as not to become involved in the center of the conflict. At this breakneck speed, the arrow-shaped protagonist could even attract the attention of a local group of knights, whose determination to hunt him down would only increase the tension he found himself in. However, the main character did not fall into pessimism. On the contrary, his determination was at its peak and he strived to find the criminal as quickly as possible, full of determination and hope. The wolf was a little suspicious about this whole situation, unable to understand why the main characters got involved in this adventure. A certainty dawned in their minds that the mysterious individual they encountered was hiding some mysterious intentions. The main character began to tirelessly and persistently convince the opposite ear, revealing his motives and conviction that this adventure would lead to the resolution of important mysteries and save many lives. Considering his colleague as his true friend, he decided to help him in this difficult matter. The colleague's reaction was extremely surprising, as he had not expected to hear such words and felt sincere gratitude. However, he still couldn't understand what the main character's true goal was. Sharing his plan, the main character invited his companion to go to the place where he discovered the mysterious bottle, ensuring that this could give rise to new discoveries and reveal the main mysteries of this fascinating story. However, when they arrived at the indicated location, they discovered that there were no traces or evidence there. The main character then politely asked to put away the beautifully decorated bottle of wine, as if he had an important plan in mind. After receiving the bottle, he began using magical analysis to reveal its origin and centuries-old history, as if opening a portal to unknown worlds. He enthusiastically admitted that the secrets of this magic were passed on to him by a close friend, whose wisdom came from ancient texts and mystical knowledge. Despite his passion and effort, he realized that his mastery of magic had not yet reached the heights that his friend had achieved, and that he still had much study and practice ahead of him. Through the magical atmosphere, the main character suddenly discovered something and broke the silence, inviting the gathered company to go somewhere, as if expecting an important discovery or adventure, without explaining a word to his friend. He continued to run away resolutely, as if he was running towards something urgent, leaving his colleague perplexed and confused. Observing carefully what was happening, the colleague noticed that Rui was moving at a speed that seemed inhumane to him, which caused him surprise and suspicion of his friend's mysterious abilities. After these words from the wolf, the main character accelerated even more, as if he embodied a strength and energy that defied explanation, propelling him towards an unknown goal. After some time, as if called by an incredible force, they found themselves in place as if they had surpassed time and space, waiting for what would open up before them in this mysterious place. The footprints they noticed led inside the building, as if inviting them to explore the secrets hidden in their hiding place. After thinking for a while, the main character decided that in this situation it was best to return the bottle, as he felt that the imminent exploration of this mysterious place might require a lot of time and effort. The wolf, stunned by the development of events, could not understand if this was the farm they were looking for or if another mystery would open up before them. The main character was impatient to enter, as if his heart beat in tune with the secrets hidden behind these doors, and he was eager to reveal their secrets amidst his intriguing exploration. Charlotte, who had been looking for them all the time without success, suddenly appeared, interrupting the moment of citation and solving the mysteries. She admitted that she had gone there because of them, expressing deep care and concern for their safety, and wanted to be there to help and support them on their adventures. The girl explained that she used magical powers to search for her tracks, as if she was communicating with the outside world to find friends and be there in difficult times. Finding themselves in this common situation before her, they immediately thought that Charlotte had come perhaps for the purpose of catching them or returning them to safety. They breathed a sigh of relief upon receiving a positive response from Charlotte, realizing that she was not opposing them, but on the contrary, she wanted to help and support them on this mysterious journey. Today she was invited to the royal palace to be a magic instructor for the warriors, and suddenly a request came to meet them. These words clearly disturbed the protagonist, destroying his hopes and leaving him in a state of disappointment and incomprehension. The wolf, not ready to give in so easily to Charlotte, felt an inner rebellion and determination to continue the research, despite all the difficulties and disappointments. However, from the girl's reaction, it was clear that she was not taking capturing them very seriously and perhaps even shared the desire to explore this mysterious location. So she decided to help them completely, as if she was changing her original intentions, and they felt a wave of relief and support from Charlotte after her decision to help. The main character hugged his friend tightly, feeling deep gratitude and joy for being able to explore this mysterious world together. She was very embarrassed by that unexpected hug, but at the same time she felt in him the warmth and support she needed. The wolf decided to attract attention and started talking animatedly, as if trying to diffuse the atmosphere and involve everyone in the conversation to ease the discomfort of the moment. He couldn't understand why the girl decided to help them, since she was the granddaughter of a hero and her reputation might diminish if she continued to help a beast man. She asked them to consider her words as nonsense, explaining that, on the contrary, abandoning people in trouble undermines her value, and his decision to help does not depend on how he is seen in her eyes. Wolf didn't hide the fact that he was a little stunned by those words, feeling as if an internal conflict began to dissipate and he received support and understanding from an unexpected ally. It was unclear why, but she suddenly picked up her sword, as if she was preparing for something that might require her protection, and they were once again enveloped in mystery and uncertainty. Feeling the increasing attention, they decided to quickly end the situation, realizing that they had many challenges and mysteries ahead of them, and time was an important resource. When they opened the doors, they were surprised by what they saw, as if a world of wonders and secrets opened before them, and they were ready for new adventures and discoveries. There were many valuable things there, impressive in both their richness and their elegance, as if they had entered a treasure they had not even dreamed of, and inside it turned out to be even more spacious than Charlotte had thought. She appreciated the enormous possibilities hidden within this place. Apparently, a man inside was involved in suspicious dealings, and the main character was certain that many of the items inside were stolen or dishonestly acquired. It was probably a secret warehouse of a group of thieves, where they kept treasures and valuables that were looted, and they were in the criminal's secret base. The main character was certain that it was best to quickly inform the knights or other servants of the law about what they had discovered, to prevent further criminal acts and restore order. Immediately after these words, gun barrels were pointed at them, and they were suddenly surrounded by a threatening aura, realizing that the situation had become even more complex and dangerous. They were surrounded by numerous people, creating an atmosphere full of tension and hostility, and found themselves in a conflict zone where choices and actions became decisive. A man approached them and asked if they were lost, as if trying to bring clarity to a difficult situation, and they felt a slight sense of relief, even though they didn't quite understand what was happening. His name was Jackson. He is the leader of this gang, managing all these people and the situation. They realized that they were now dealing with a major player in this mysterious incident. According to their impressions, he is a rather authoritative figure in the criminal world, who emphasized the seriousness of the situation and the need for caution when dealing with him. Rui had doubts that this man was really the leader of the thieves, perhaps due to his unusual appearance or behavior, and this added to the mystery of the situation. While he made good money from robberies, the main character was determined not to let him profit from all this stolen property, believing that justice should prevail. He was determined to stop the thief and put an end to his illegal activities, even if it meant facing an authority figure in the criminal world. The man suddenly felt as if he had seen Roy somewhere, and his gaze towards the young man was filled with suspicion and bewilderment. Then, as if revealing some secret, he said that he was very lucky to see this young man, arousing surprise and questions from everyone present. His attitude towards Roy became even more mysterious, leaving many unanswered questions in the air. Charlotte resolutely drew her sword and took a stance, preparing to defend herself. Her resolution was clear, despite the difficulty of the situation. Wolf was very angry because the man had stolen goods from the souvenir shops, making him suspicious and guilty, and suffering even more hostility from the locals. He strongly expressed his indignation at the man who did not even remember which store presents he robbed, and his incredible carelessness and disregard added to the mystery of the situation. The man realized that the boy was angry at having made fun of him. So he offered to become her master as an apology. Wolf was shocked by this proposal and was almost at the limit of his anger. The man said that he actually had a rich buyer to buy the beast boy. Wolf couldn't hold back his anger any longer. He was ready to tear everything and everyone apart, but the main character stopped him in time and thus avoided a fight. After that, he actually calmed down a little and came to his senses. The main character hoped that Wolf understood everything. Wolf's gaze changed to Rue's, and saw his hand with blood on it. Rue admitted that he would repay the man for insulting his friend. The man ordered his subordinates to negotiate with the guy as he saw him as a big problem. Excitement for the fight shone in their eyes. Furthermore, the man asked not to hit Rue in the face, mocking him. The man realized that if he sold Rue to the perverts who loved cute boys, they would pay a lot for it. It sounds disgusting, but after some time, the man's gaze changed very sharply. He was afraid that his subordinates' fingers would be broken in every possible way. The main character used a technique called golden shell and also finger removal. The man was very frightened by this and could not understand who was standing in front of him. While Rue seemed to be calm, he noticed that the man's gun started to shake. The man tried with all his strength to show that he didn't care and was calm. Then the man opened fire. Rue had an idea of what to use to protect them. He used a move called crane. It was the first time the wolf had seen such a technique, and everyone present was already out of ammunition. Now the friends had a chance, but they had to try not to damage the stolen property. Rue easily dealt with his opponents. He didn't see them as a danger, and Charlotte helped him at that moment, as always. She asked to leave someone for her. The team worked very closely together and this brought results. Wolf was surprised by the sequence of attacks, because they protected each other's blind spots, and after some time, everyone present was unconscious. The man had no choice but to shoot the beast boy, who was standing. He turned around at that moment and didn't notice the bullet flying towards him. In a split second, she should have approached Wolf. When he realized this, he was very scared and didn't know what to do. Rue also realized this and knew what he needed to do. The main character began to approach Wolf to help him, and an instant later, screams were heard in the building and blood flowed. At this moment Wolf remembers when he was informed that his arrival had been anticipated for a long time. Anxiously he awaited the meeting, as if it were an omen of a long-awaited event. This time he was clearly late. Time flowed through his fingers like grains of sand in an hourglass, and the moment of their encounter turned into an incredibly slow wait. Wolf, burning with curiosity, could not understand the reason for his invitation, like a mysterious invitation only revealed by slowly revealing riddles. He was led outside, seductively hinting at something mysterious, like a curtain rising before a mysterious performance in the night light. The boys sought to demonstrate to their classmates a creature-like hearing, as if lifting the curtain on an incredible and monstrous world hidden in the shadows. Then, as in a merciless dance of fate, the guns were pointed at him, creating a tense moment like a cinematic scene, where a dark twist guards the resolution. For some unknown reason, the wolf was told that he was lucky, as if a mysterious happiness had crept into the secret bonds of destiny, granting him unexpected luck. And at that moment, it became clear to him that they were pursuing dishonest goals, like a secret conspiracy, and were simply going to sell him as a commodity in a world of intrigue and betrayal. His intention filled him with disbelief like a misty mist, and he could not realize that his plans were so permeated with darkness that it was difficult to believe in their reality. Exposed to shock, he gradually transformed his anxious inner impulse into a whirlwind of rage, as intense as blazing fire. With a cocky smile, the guys asked him if he really believed he could make friends with people, as if undermining his confidence in his own hopes. After the incident, Wolf finally decided that he would no longer trust people, as if he made a vow to himself to avoid such disappointments and betrayals in the future. But suddenly he returns to the present, and sees Rui saving him from a deadly bullet. He realized that even in the darkest moments there is light, revising his previous beliefs with new hope. Rui justified his action, explaining that for him, Wolf is the same as everyone else, and that he sees no obstacles in the fact that Wolf is not a person. After all people are like fugitives in search of their essence, just like Wolf who struggles to find his true path in this labyrinth of existence. Rui simply didn't want Wolf to become something he wasn't, because he realized that he might seem rude and unapproachable on the outside, but on the inside he was kind and sensitive. When meeting teachers and classmates, the stupid boy became the target of discrimination and naturally did not like being the object of resentment. Charlotte ran to Rui instantly, anxious to know if her friend was okay, as if showing concern in that moment of uncertainty. Inviting the couple to relax, the wolf then decided to reveal something in common, like a mysterious performance that should captivate their imagination. Finally, he decided to show his true self to them, not the mask he walks under, but his true appearance as a wolf, as if he was revealing his soul to them. The moment later, Rui and Charlotte witnessed the beast boy in his true appearance. It was as if Wolf was revealing to them the secret of his true essence. Charlotte suggested that it was an atavism, giving the whole situation even more mystery, and as if it were revealing unknown facets not only of Wolf, but also of nature. She had heard about it more than once, as if it was revealing to her a new world of secrets and mysteries that she had only briefly touched on in her previous knowledge. Long ago, beast men had the incredible ability to change their appearance, as if resurrecting an ancient legend in their own incarnation. She had heard that nowadays, few beast men were born with such an ability, so the beast boy was one of those unique creatures that were legendary. All those who dared to harm Wolf deeply regretted it, as he easily surpassed their strength, as if leaving them powerless and incapable. The bandits desperately tried to defend themselves from the beast's attack, putting all their efforts into repelling his attacks, as if they were trapped in a whirlpool of an unpredictable battle. Charlotte noticed that the wolf was moving with incredible speed, like a shadow, a flash of lightning, a sword in the hands of an invisible warrior. Then, the wolf simply destroyed all the guards, men, like a whirlwind of unstoppable force, sweeping away everything in its path. After that, Jackson began to call someone, as if a herald of new events, developing an incredible intrigue in his arsenal. As it turned out, there was an unusual monster, a wise parrot, bound by chains. The wolf was surprised to discover that Jackson had such a rare monster, as if faced with an unexpected secret in his arsenal. Jackson did his best to force the parrot to fly, as he was deeply scared and could not handle this task, as if he was facing unexpected difficulties. The boy could not allow the man to do this, as if he felt a deep responsibility, realizing that they had the burden of protecting someone who could not protect himself. Jackson grabbed a bottle of some kind of fluid and decided to use it to escape. Throwing the bottle that breaks when it falls to the ground, and the previously contained fluid spills out, Jackson then gives an order, saying that he was to eliminate everyone in the place. The initially ordinary substance began to transform into some kind of monster, as if a monster with a certain threat was forming from the dark depths. Both found themselves in a state of perplexity at what they saw, as if they were facing something that surpassed their understanding and expectations. Jackson was not surprised that the wolf was so scared, as if he realized that he was faced with something terrible and incomprehensible, which led to natural fear. This was a very rare type of slime, because it sucked things into itself and increased in size, as if it possessed unique properties among its species. Jackson didn't want to use it against the wolf, but he knew it was his fault that he attacked him, as if he was provoking the need for extreme measures. The wolf felt that he needed to reach the man before he could attack, as if realizing that now was the time to act decisively. At this moment, the creature simply stood still, posing no threat, as if it remained calm and behaved peacefully. But only after some time, he finally made some move, and it became clear that he was trying to catch the wolf, as if he was launching a surprise attack. Fortunately, the fellow easily dodged this attack, as if showing brilliant agility in avoiding trouble, but the stranger who was passed out found himself under the attack, as if he had become an unlucky accidental participant in what was happening. Something strange was happening in that bubble. The slime began to absorb the strange, as if immersing it in its common essence, causing mysterious changes. The slime absorbed him, as if plunging him into the unknown depths of his inner world, leaving behind only mysterious traces of what happened. When the monster tried to grab Rui, Charlotte managed to save him in time, as if showing precision and determination in protecting her friend. The monster then began to attack the rest of those present, like a whirlwind of chaos and fear, causing a storm of struggle for survival in this incredible confrontation. They realized that this rank monster was extremely dangerous, as if they were facing a force beyond their normal perception and resistance. If the wolf remains in this barn, he will be sucked in, as if to emphasize the inevitability of danger and the monster's insistence on absorption. He needed to leave, as if he were facing a growing threat that emphasized the urgency of his actions. The wolf realized that he would have to figure out how to fight the monster, as if he were faced with a challenge that required understanding and special skills. After all, even experienced adventurers fight in groups with such monsters, as if to emphasize the complexity and seriousness of the situation in which they found themselves. But Rui asked his friends not to give up, because if he wasn't stopped now, he would only get worse, as if he was calling for decisive action in the face of an imminent threat. Thanks to Charlotte's treatment, the subject can begin to move, as if he is coming to life under her careful hands and regaining his strength. Rui decided to use a technique called glaciation, as if he was resorting to his unique abilities in fighting the monster, and strangely, a real block of ice appeared around the monster, as if it were the result of a magical combination of Rui's efforts, Charlotte and the wolf. The monster's icy appearance became more and more complete and massive, as if its essence was sealed in a cold shell. It concentrated all its efforts trying to break out of this ingenious trap, as if every movement became a test of will and endurance. For him. To some extent, he managed to get out and attacked Rui, defenseless and weak at the moment, as if he was trying to use his instant freedom to strike back. Charlotte couldn't just stand by and watch this. After all, she also needed to stand out, as if she was taking decisive action to help Rui at this critical time. Then, the monster literally swallowed the entire barn, as if devouring its walls and ceiling, leaving only traces of its presence. The wolf continued to insist that they needed to escape before it was too late, as if it sensed a growing threat within the space consumed by the monster. Well, Rui and Charlotte had a different opinion. They began to fight the monster as if they had decided not to give up in the face of the incredible challenge they had to overcome. The girl decided to use Sakura's heroic heart technique, as if she was summoning to herself strength and determination comparable to the splendor of spring flowers. Then, with all her determination, she was fully prepared to attack, as if she was preparing for a stunning and powerful blow against the monster. She, surrounded by an atmosphere of mystery, conveyed that she trusted everything in Rui, expressing unlimited confidence and creating a whirlwind of mystery and expectation around her, as if, with a magic blow, she transformed her guarantees not only into uncertainties, but also into invisible threads of concern, creating an invisible thread that connected their hearts in an invisible dance of devotion and hope. The monster monolith, under the power of a glacial spell, disappeared under a blanket of ice, like a frozen secret, giving the scenery a dark beauty in which the unknown mysteries of history were hidden. There was disbelief in Wolf's eyes, as if he was still wandering in the shadows of doubt, not believing that they truly held this giant of time and destiny. They stayed with the Ice Titan only to start running in pursuit of Jackson, as if time was short and their fate depended on every moment they lived. After this epic battle, Rui realized that his strength had not yet completely returned, as if the inner fire, although burning brightly, took time to ignite again, with all its power. With Charlotte among them, amid the echoes of battle, they claimed that Jackson had gone far ahead, hidden in the shadows of distant horizons, as if finding him had become an impossible mission in the ocean of night. The wolf, full of confidence, assured that he could catch up with Jackson by following the trail, like a wolf that senses prey, opening up the possibility of catching up with the fugitive in this hunt. Showing an unprecedented sense of humor, the wolf asked with a smile if Rui was going to climb on it, as if ignoring the shadow of uncertainty that hung in the air. With a slight blink of his eye, the wolf noted that if Rui decided to do this, he would become a symbol of absolute trust, like an unusual gesture that warmed the coldness of the night. With friendliness and trust in unusual, with sadness in his voice, the wolf noted that he still could not fully trust all people, as if shadows of suspicion still flickered in his eyes, crowding his soul. The wolf, having pondered his experiences, realized that his characteristics were different from those of others, and this understanding will accompany him for a long time, as if it were an integral part of his uniqueness in this world. With a tremor in his voice, the wolf, eager to avoid the impression of favoritism, asked for help rather than doing them a favor, as if the mix of vulnerability in his request gave the moment a special depth. Charlotte, possessed by determination, decided to take responsibility for those consumed by the monster and set out to deal with Jackson, as if he were an integral part of her destiny, full of secrets and challenges. With a sudden burst of friendship, Rui climbed onto his comrade's shoulders and together they advanced like a whirlwind, where strength and determination fused, filling the night with the sonorous echo of their decisive march. Jackson was holding the bracelet he had found among the ruins of the capital. He deciphered the mysterious signs that opened the way for him, like a luminous thread that guided them through the dark labyrinths of the past. The bracelet was decorated with a large stone and was undoubtedly not just a treasure. By selling her together with the mysterious bird, he could obtain a significant sum. He swore that he would be relentless in his revenge, deciding that by reviving his gang, he would pursue the goal of getting revenge on Rui and his friends, for all the trouble they caused. The wolf, like a cunning hunter, caught the man's scent and instantly gave chase, as if dancing with the wind, where the scent became a thread that led him to a hidden goal. With the news that Jackson had already left the city limits, the wolf shared the information like the wind, carrying the news of his departure, and embodied his determination to catch up with him in the desert of night. The wolf, imbued with a premonition of future events, excitedly awaited the next meeting, as if it were a previously unraveled chapter of adventure. With the agility of a predator, he easily climbed the city wall like a shadow silently, wrapping himself in the invisible veil of the night's hunt. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared from one side of the wall like shadows, crossing the line between light and darkness, leaving the bustling world of the city behind. The wolf, standing outside the new town, asked what they should do next, as if the starting point of the adventure now required a choice of direction. Rui insisted that they must attack Jackson without letting him escape, as if the strategy required decisive action to ensure that the moment of retaliation was not lost. After a while of chasing, they managed to get closer to Jackson. Rui immediately uses gravitational magic to force the parrot to land with Jackson, approaching his goal with irresistible determination. Jackson faced a lack of understanding of what was happening. It was time to move on to the next step of their plan, as if the puzzle pieces of an adventure were beginning to fall into place on a single screen, awaiting completion. After that, everything depended on Rui, as if he were a key player in their strategy, and all eyes were on him, awaiting his next moves. Rui began to rise before them, preparing for the next jump, as if there was a tense energy in the air and the next jump promised to change the course of events. With a series of worries and expectations, he flew through the air, performing the promised jump, as if a wave of action was taking them to the next episode of this nightly performance. With a mocking smile, Rui announced that it seemed like they hadn't met for a long time, as if he was in line with his own game and using the cunning move in his secret plan. Jackson couldn't understand. Amazed, he wondered how this boy managed to find him. It was as if his mind was involving him in unanswered questions, placing a cloak of opaque mystery around him. Jackson tried in vain to bribe Rui, in which he was refused. Rui said that he did not need the stolen things, as if he refused the temptation in favor of his principles, even when he began to offer him a woman as compensation. Jackson was aware that Rui remained relentless in his beliefs, as if he was on guard against a dark path. With pride and confidence, Roy declared that he was not interested in all these bribery attempts because he already had his beloved. In response to these words, Roy's next move was to hit the man, as if expressing his firm reluctance to negotiate and emphasizing his determination through the language of physical strength. Roy used a technique called Earthly Golden Shell, as if revealing his fighting ability and creating a whirlwind of brilliance and elegance within the chaos of the fight. The blow was so powerful that Jackson was launched several meters into the air, as if becoming part of a temporary dance of power, where gravity succumbed to the power of his crushing blow. With this sudden turn of events, they had the opportunity to relax, as if the shadow of tension in this place calmed down and their adventure phase paused for a moment. Roy politely asked the parrot if he could land, as if he were addressing an exotic companion with a question about the possibility of descending to the ground after landing. Roy immediately got off the animal, calling his friend to take care of the parrot, as if creating a picturesque image of the interaction between the members of his team. The wolf watched the scene in surprise. It was clear that the wolf managed to catch Jackson at the moment of his landing, as if by the magic of events, where dexterity and cunning wove an invisible net around the characters. The wolf, with his eyes evaluating every word, asked if Roy trusted him, as if the issue of trust had become a key point in their relationship. With a smile, the main character joked that he wasn't fully aware of what the guy was talking about, as if adding humor to his dialogue and easing the tension of the moment. Now, all that was left was to follow Charlotte, because she was still continuing her mission to rescue the thieves, as if she was revealing new chapters of her adventurous journey. Noticing the man's bracelet, Roy somehow found it familiar, as if a wave of long-forgotten memories called to the secrets of his past. Wolf, turning to his friend, began to find out if something common had happened, as if he was carefully monitoring the main character's well-being. It wasn't long before they found themselves at Charlotte's side, as if their paths had merged into a dance of destinies and adventures. Trusting the course of events during this time, Charlotte truly provided assistance to all those affected, as if her good deeds became an integral part of her fight for justice and well-being. It was quite natural that at this moment the knights arrived, as if they were the personification of the defenders of justice, adding a layer of mystery and nobility to the plot. Now, they were faced with the task of proving Wolf's innocence, as if it were the beginning of a new stage where truth and justice were once again at stake. This was probably the most difficult part of his work, as if solving the mystery and protecting innocence required effort, will and the combined strength of all forces. Yuri asked the knights to present a report on the damage caused, as if using his authority to establish the veracity of his position in a difficult situation. The guy expressed his intense indignation at what had happened, as if the fire in his eyes flickered with indignation and his emotions spoke the language of protest and rejection. Yuri expressed his contempt for the thieves, stating that even his stomach felt heavy with their presence, as if the words filled the air with condemnation and disgust. Furthermore, the parrot, for some reason, also seemed alarmed and did not listen, as if he shared his anxiety with those present. However, in the end, the parrot seemed to find an unusual language with Roy and became friends with him, as if he tamed even the most rebellious birds with his charm. The wild boy said that, apparently, the parrot expressed the desire to become Roy's friend, as if he were unraveling the language of birds and opening a new chapter in his adventure. Furthermore, it turned out that Wolf is able to understand what the parrot is saying, thanks to his ability called tavism, as if he is opening up new facets of mutual understanding for them. Because the guy was more of an animal than a man, he somehow managed to understand the animal's conversations, as if the animal's whispers resonated in his soul, revealing the mysterious world of wild nature. Roy decided to ask the manager if he could take the parrot with him, as if moving smoothly from mysterious languages to practical solutions in their lives. The main character could not understand why he liked this parrot so much, as if the mystery of his attachment to his feathered friend remained unsolved. It seemed that Wolf knew the reason for this attachment, as if the secrets were diminishing in his eyes. Since Wolf can feel extraordinary energy and strength coming from the parrot, disproportionate to its small body, as if incredible magic and power were hidden in this feathered creature. The wolf never understood why the main character always strives to help everyone around him, as if this riddle contains the mysterious essence of his soul, full of kindness and attention to others. He may have power now, but before he was completely powerless, as if he was solving the riddle of the transformation from vulnerability to strength in an inexplicable life story. Previously, he was absolutely powerless, but one day he had teachers as wise guides who opened the way to potential and strength for him. He learned a lot from them, and most importantly, he learned kindness and love. So, he made the decision to become someone who would give rather than take. Wolf couldn't understand what his friend was talking about, as if another mystery in their relationship was unfolding before him, demanding attention and understanding. So now he passes on his knowledge and teaches others what he was taught, as if the chain of kindness and learning continues on his incredible adventure. After these words, the Beast Boy, for some unknown reason, assumed a strange posture, as if magically joining a ritual that only he understood, adding mystery to the air around him. It turned out that this is a pose for an animal lover, which symbolized complete obedience, as if Wolf, internally, connected with wild nature and accepted its laws. He confessed to having been enchanted by Rui's spirit, as if his soul were so irresistible, so unique, that even beasts could not resist his magic. In an act of devotion, he asked Rui to accept him as a companion, expressing his readiness to dedicate himself to service and care, as a sign of devotion. Rui, of course, immediately began to dissuade the guy, stating that this was a bad idea, as if foreseeing the difficulties and failures associated with this strange idea of Wolf. Wolf shared that he is also not against just being friends with the guy, as if trying to diffuse attention and offer a compromised solution, but deep down in his soul, he still wants to serve him, as if an inner desire to overcome rational considerations and follow your feelings. Rui agreed to Wolf's proposal, but added that he would, however, always treat him as a friend, as if emphasizing that friendship was valued above all else in their relationship. Charlotte was happy to see how the guys became friends, as if in their combined strength she saw hope for a successful resolution of all the problems and trials they faced. She asked her friend for forgiveness, suggesting that perhaps their friendship had a connection to discrimination against beastmen, as if feeling responsible for the possible misunderstanding.
The hero tried to end discrimination but died along the way. This task was supposed to be completed by their heirs, but unfortunately they lacked the necessary skills, revealing a new level of complexity in family stories. Charlotte, aiming to end discrimination, apologizes for misunderstandings, realizing that her ancestors, focusing on their abilities, couldn't change circumstances, and now it all depends on their heirs. Wolf thanked Charlotte for considering his race, expressing gratitude for understanding and support in the fight against prejudices. He began to explain that the problem wasn't just with Charlotte's ancestors, but that his own race also bore some blame. Wolf emphasized the importance of recognition and responsibility from everyone to progress in solving the problem, stating that through their conversation, he realized the need for a deeper study of each other's races, as if their communication had sparked a thirst for understanding and tolerance. Thus, he expressed his belief that just as he studied his race, people should also pay more attention to studying beastmen, offering a path to mutual understanding and bridging different worlds. Charlotte assured that she would definitely try to contribute to promoting this idea, expressing her readiness to actively participate in this process, in the understanding between different races. After all, she was the granddaughter of a hero, and for her, it was an obligation to fulfill his words, as if a hereditary call to honor and responsibility echoed in her chest. After these words, they shook hands, symbolizing an agreement on a path toward creating a more harmonious and understanding world. In the next scene, we see the blonde boy very nervous with Jackson, afraid that the knights would discover that he was also involved, as if the attention on his soul was reflected in concern for his safety and the secrets that could be revealed. He was extremely surprised when, turning around, he noticed a stranger behind him, as if the sudden appearance of a man wearing a goat mask. The boy remembered that among his friends, this person was known as Thorn. After that, the mysterious stranger presented Jackson's head as if it were a dark artifact, guarding unknown secrets in his lifeless eyes, slowing down the flow of time around him. The boy couldn't understand what he was seeing, while thoughts infiltrated his mind, suggesting the possibility that perhaps this strange man had come with the intention of ending his life. The moment he tried to escape, his plans were ruined. The mysterious stranger easily thwarted him, as if controlling every step of his in this dark game of destiny. The mysterious stranger ruthlessly took the boy's life, leaving only a shadow of the past in his cold eyes. Having completed his objectives, the mysterious stranger decided to leave the capital for a while, as if leaving behind a trail of mystery and unknown events. Thus, he left the scene of the incident. After some time, Wolf joined the group, as if his return provided him with a new perspective and inner strength for the next stage of his journey. Rui was stunned by this idea, as if a whirlwind of unexpected thoughts rushed into his mind, leaving behind a trail of mysterious excitement and unknown prospects. At that moment, Michael joined them, as if his unexpected arrival brought with it a new breath of change, filling the space with new possibilities and dynamics. Dissatisfaction filled Michael as he realized that Wolf was silent, so he said something decisive, as if intending to break this silent barrier. There was clearly an atmosphere of dissatisfaction among them, as if the shadows of a hostile relationship slowly spread between them, creating a tense backdrop in their communication. In this situation, Michael took the initiative, as if assuming the role of a leader, directing the course of events towards him. In response to Michael's initiative, Wolf decisively offered him a duel, as if it were a challenge that could change the course of their relationship, with more than just words at stake. All the colleagues responded to this challenge as if they had gathered around them to witness this confrontation together and decide who would emerge victorious from this duel. Charlotte came to the conclusion that they might feel better after the duel, and therefore there was no need to intervene, as if she believed that this duel could resolve the tension between them. At the moment Yuri entered the room, his eyes showed determination to share something important about the bracelet, as if interrupting the moment that could change everything. Once in the spotlight, the bracelet was not stolen, but the mystery of its creation and purpose remained a mystery, as if its origin was meant to be revealed and unveiled. After unraveling the mystery surrounding the bracelet, it was discovered to be an extraordinary artifact, the hero's bracelet itself, like an unnoticed link in the chain of his mysterious history. Yuri struggled to accept the reality that such an important bracelet was before him, as if he doubted the truth of this discovery and its connection to the hero's destiny. Charlotte asked to look inside the bracelet where a flower was engraved, revealing that the bracelet was a family secret. Yuri sought to keep this information secret, as if realizing that no one outside should know about it. Rui suddenly realized that before him was exactly the key that was mentioned to him, like a piece of a mysterious puzzle that could reveal long-awaited secrets. His feelings didn't deceive him, and he was right, as if his intuition was guiding him to the truth, revealing to him the long-awaited answer to the riddle. Politely, he asked to be given this bracelet for a while, as if intending to delve into its secrets and unravel its meaning. If Charlotte didn't object, then Yuri expressed his agreement, as if all the members of the group were beginning to realize that this bracelet could be the key to solving many mysteries. Rui decided not to remove the seal now, preferring to leave it untouched, as if realizing that it was better not to directly touch this mysterious artifact. Charlotte blushed easily, asking with a slight touch of irritation why he needed the bracelet, as if seeking answers to questions that troubled her. Charlotte, without showing indignation, only asked for some time when he could tell her, as if seeking clarity about this mysterious story. He politely agreed to her proposal, as if he were ready to share this secret when the right moment came. Furthermore, Yuri was also interested in finding out why Rui needed this bracelet, as if confronted with another link in their mysterious shared history. Late at night, his friend, the parrot, appeared to Rui, as if unexpectedly bringing a new batch of clues and fun to this mysterious world. Wolf commented to Rui that this parrot had wisdom, as if bringing intelligent thoughts to their environment, which added mystery to the overall context of events. According to the residents, this parrot also gained their sympathy, as if bringing joy and positive emotions to their common space. Now, Rui decided to start studying the bracelet, as if opening a new path to solving the mysteries he encountered. When he put on the bracelet, suddenly a blinding light surrounded him, opening a portal to the endless inferno. He asked which floor he was on this time, and perhaps he was about to face a hostile presence, as if each floor in this world could hide its own secrets and dangers. But to his surprise, after a long time, he finally reunited with Diosa and Rio, as if finding a loved one was an unexpected gift among the mysteries of this supernatural world. At that exact moment, he was overwhelmed by emotion. as if the meeting with Diyoza had broken all barriers, returning to him a piece of lost harmony. With caution, Diyoza asked if Rui was really in front of her. He answered positively, bringing joy to her heart, as if the confirmation of his identity meant immeasurable happiness to her. In that moment of reunion, both felt the joy of meeting again, as if emotions intertwined. Diyoza was indescribably happy to be together again, as if the happiness of reuniting with Rui knew no bounds, filling her heart with joy and warmth. Rio, already smiling with tears in her eyes and smiling, held Rui's hand, as if this unexpected turn added lightness and playfulness to their encounter. Rui, in turn, even thought that at this rate he could suffocate, as if the cheerful atmosphere around created a sense of incredible energy and movement. She asked him if he thought she was better than Diyoza. Rui asked if Rio was upset because he found a girlfriend. Rio, with a slight smile, explained that her words were just a joyful manifestation of good intentions, a playful soul joke meant to tease her brother. Diyoza, with a serene smile, stated that she wasn't upset by such small things, adding that in her opinion, friendship was more important, and even shared some wise advice with Rio. Additionally, Lucia noted that her joy wouldn't be depleted even if Rio consciously avoided such actions, emphasizing her uniqueness in expressing emotions when they reunited. Rui invited them to share their knowledge, expressing the desire to learn something new from them, thus creating the exciting prospect of sharing experiences. Then, completely lost, Diyoza decided to surprise Rui, beginning to demonstrate complex techniques incomprehensible to him, revealing to him a world of unique techniques. Rio naturally didn't fall behind her friend and happily shared her incredible methods and techniques with Rui, creating an atmosphere of inspiration and exchange of experiences around them. The three reunited souls were filled with joy, realizing that they were together again. Sparks of contentment flickered in every heart, revealing the priceless treasure of friendship. Rui, immersed in the learning process and absorbing the knowledge of Diyoza and Rio, gradually became transparent, as if his essence dissolved into a flow of new ideas and skills. Concerned and surprised, the girls couldn't unravel the meaning of this mysterious transformation and begged Rui to explain the mystery of what was happening. Rui began to explain that his physical body remained in the real world, while here in the dimension they were in, only his soul remained freely moving in the whirlwind of knowledge and experience. That's why, after 6 hours in the endless inferno, full of knowledge and trials, he returns, overcoming the barriers between worlds, to reconnect his soul with his body in the real world. Now, with an awareness of Rui's mystery and his travels between worlds, Diyoza understood the depth of what was happening and grasped all his incredible experience with a sense of admiration. She hugged her brother tightly, as if she wanted to embrace the whole moment, leaving a memory of him in her heart before he plunged back into the whirlwind of his spiritual world. Rui's journey left her perplexed, unable to understand why she reacted so strongly, dominated by an unknown mixture of love and secret fear for Rui, who crossed the boundaries between worlds. She felt as if an eternity had passed since he had left, as if time in their worlds was moving at different speeds, leading them on a long adventure. They simply asked him not to forget that they were both there, maintaining a connection not only in different dimensions, but also in the deepest corners of their hearts. At parting, they simply said that they would always be there for him, supporting and protecting, ready to be a support in a world where reality and the spiritual world intertwine. The girls were alone again, but the fire of mutual support burned in their hearts. Their connection remained unshakable, even in Rui's absence. Rio confidently said that they would meet again, while Diyoza, it seemed, looked to the future with some doubt, not truly believing in the inevitability of their reunion. Back in the city, as the travelers passed through the gate, they were asked to show their migration card, suddenly questioning the convenience and carefree nature of the journey. A man, with surprise in his eyes, couldn't understand the reason behind the unexpected request for a migration card. Confused, he refused to solve the sudden puzzle in his way. The knight, trying to justify himself, explained his unexpected reaction, saying that he had encountered a samurai for the first time, turning his gaze with admiration and a little embarrassment to this representative of a different military tradition. The man was asked with curiosity what purpose he had embarked on this journey for. Suddenly, drawing attention to the mystery of his mission and intentions, he replied that he had work to do, but emphasized that it was not just ordinary work, leaving a mystery around the nature and meaning of his activities. Entering the classroom, Rui greeted everyone cheerfully, spreading a positive atmosphere around him and filling the space with his energy. His greeting was met with a warm response, which brought warmth and friendship back to the classroom. Quietly to himself, he wished Iris a good morning, sending quiet and sincere wishes to her, enveloping the beginning of her day in warmth and mystery. He always wondered what Iris liked and curiously pondered about her preferences, trying to unravel the mystery of her inner world. A classmate approached Iris to ask about something, asking questions and creating an atmosphere of curiosity around the mysterious world of her interests and preferences. With a frosty tone, she asked if the girl realized she was being ignored, leaving a hostile tension in the air and raising questions in Iris's heart. On the contrary, the girl was happy that Iris finally seemed to speak, experiencing a positive emotional excitement for the conversation and new contact. Everyone in the class had already become friends, and only she felt a wall separating her from the others, a feeling of loneliness that she wanted to destroy. Rui was eager for any chance to develop a friendship with her, and his eyes shone with determination to overcome the wall of misunderstanding and establish a connection with her world. Rui was approached to help with homework, providing an opportunity to connect and get to know each other through a common cause, paving the way for a potential friendship. However, it's not clear for what reasons their gazes turned to Iris, creating a moment of mysterious silence as if a hidden secret that still had to be revealed lay on her desk. Rui was dying of boredom, immersed in the monotony of the educational process, dreaming of adventures in unknown worlds that could brighten his day. Charlotte asked if Rui was okay while he lay on his desk, expressing concern and curiosity about his emotional state. She noticed that he simply couldn't sleep enough lately, expressing concern for his physical and emotional well-being. Meanwhile, Rui remembered how he played with his new friend, the parrot, smiling at the memory of the joyful moments that brought light and rainbows into his life. At that moment, he felt again a gaze upon him, the same as in that classroom, causing him incomprehensible sensations and an unknown secret. He thought that this could be an attempt to kill him, feeling signs of an invisible threat that could overshadow his peace and tranquility. Rui assured that he was okay and almost awake, trying to dissipate the shadow of anxiety that had enveloped his sudden awakening. Charlotte didn't argue with Rui, accepting his words in faith, showing understanding, and leaving the moment without questions. Rui seemed very excited sitting in class, his emotions bubbling, filling the air with an atmosphere of mystery and expectation, as if something unusual was happening in his inner world. No matter where it comes from and doesn't know from whom, but it's definitely close, as if a mysterious twist of fate was already approaching, bringing with it unknown variables. Walking through the forest, Rui felt as if someone was following his tracks, as if an invisible man were secretly watching his every step, and he decided to try something there, creating a mysterious moment where the protagonist's decisions and actions begin to influence the course of events, involving everything in an atmosphere of unpredictability. Ancient hieroglyphs needed to be written around him, as if he had become a participant in an ancient secret, the decryption of which could change his destiny and the course of events. He drew a magic circle, incorporating ancient knowledge and power into action, as if he were summoning the mystical forces hidden in mysterious geometry. The magic circle could create a barrier, and that's exactly what Rui wanted to do, magically separating his world from external influences and keeping his travels secret. He felt successful, as if his magic circle had worked, creating an invisible net that caught the mysterious pursuer. He began to build a cage around him, as if he were creating a magical amulet that would protect him from mysterious threats, allowing him to unravel the mysteries of his own world. To his surprise, he saw Iris standing before him inside the magic cage, as if her appearance was part of a mysterious plan he couldn't predict. He couldn't understand where she had come from, and why exactly she was inside his magic cage, as if the mystery of her presence had to be resolved along with the secrets of his own destiny. He wondered if she would catch him, feeling questions and doubts that cast a shadow of uncertainty over their meeting in the magical world, but he didn't want to fight her, revealing his true intentions to her, and the desire to solve the mysteries of their encounter together. Iris saw no sense in responding to Rui, creating a moment of confusion and mystery, as if her silence was part of a complex puzzle. She wanted to avenge him for her mistress, filling the air around her with tension and determination to change the course of events in her favor. She began to attack Rui, showing determination and strength, as if she had become a relentless defender of her mistress. In this magical battle, Rui wouldn't allow himself to be easily defeated and began to defend himself, showing resilience and determination to defend his essence in this battle. Iris used a technique called bloodletting, incorporating magical power and extraordinary energy, as if her attack came from ancient times and was intended to unleash mysterious forces. And it really worked. Rui lay beneath the nearby tree, subdued by the power of the technique, as if his resistance had been defeated by an extraordinary force. Now she had avenged her mistress, her attack leading to victory, creating a moment of satisfaction and triumph in this thrilling battle. Panting, Rui, on the contrary, began to smile and said that his arms still hurt, bringing a touch of irony and playfulness to the situation, as if, despite the defeat, he hadn't lost his sense of humor. Iris couldn't understand how Rui managed to get up, creating a new moment of mystery and enigma in this shared story, as if he had a power that challenged common understanding. This time she was determined to finish the boy off and use the bloody scythe, unleashing a new magical movement with deadly energy, as if her determination was unquestionable, her confident and calm gaze, as if at that moment her whole being was filled with determination and indifference, creating the image of a fearless warrior in this magical confrontation. In the next moment, she began to attack her opponent, channeling her determination into magical movements, as if at that moment time had slowed down, leaving only tense air around them. Rui, easily dodging the attack, danced among the glittering fragments like a virtuoso, creating a whirlwind of emotion and brilliance that remained in memory long after this incredible moment. Perceiving Rui's skillful movements, Iris picked up something unique in him. It's no wonder she wanted to study this Rui more closely, as his grace was so enticing. He, like the wind, easily dodged the attack, noticing how Iris watched him with curiosity, slowing the girl's steps. Politely, he asked her to explain who was behind her charm and power, revealing the mystery that attracted her attention. Irritated, she realized that Rui, by not recognizing her, had become the source of her disappointment, and the fire of rejection glowed in her eyes, developing further. It was found that her mistress, who had become the object of Rui's tension, was not just a woman, but a demon queen, the embodiment of mysterious power and indomitable beauty in the world of magic. Upon hearing that her mistress was a demon queen, Rui was momentarily in a state of slight shock, trembling with surprise at the magnificent secret that had just been revealed. He realized that Diyoza, who seemed ordinary in everyday life, would suddenly take on a mysterious tone by becoming a demon queen, a revelation that only intensified his emotional turmoil. Iris, meeting Rui's gaze, unexpectedly declared that she felt his energy comparable to the power of the queen, once again exciting her imagination, creating a new layer of mystery in their encounter. Yeah, those words held truth, because after living for 300 years with Diyoza, a piece of her strength and soul seeped into Rui, leaving something in him that survived time and kept his mysterious essence. Discovering that his magical power truly surpassed that of a regular human, Rui realized something incomprehensible flowed in his veins, belonging to a higher reality. She kept promising to transfer only a small part of her power to Rui, making sure this event remained unnoticed and unknown to regular folks. With a smile, Iris warned Rui's got the knack for fooling others, highlighting how his stealth and disguise skills impressed those who met him. However, she stressed out that, despite his knack for deception, she, as the master and queen of demons, didn't fall for such tricks, staying impervious to any scheme. Revealing her eye had the unique ability to see magical energy, its shape, and color. Iris added a new dimension to exploring the mysterious aspects of magic surrounding them. There was more in Rui's gaze than just the magic energy of the Demon King. She noticed an unknown force in him that could influence deeper realities and the secret currents of the universe. For the first time, even she hadn't noticed it herself. But on exam day, when magic was most important, she felt there was something exceptional and mysterious about Rui. As she closely observed him during exams, she noticed how skilled he was in manipulating dark magic, revealing the darkest aspects of his inner world, adding to the mystery of his personality. Then, Rui, feeling her gaze, suddenly realized when he'd used dark magic, and this internal hunch filled him with mixed feelings of discoveries full of puzzles and secrets that could hardly be revealed. He was lost in questions about who Iris was, who turned out to be the lady and queen of demons, with so many mysterious and hidden abilities that each answer only brought new mysteries. Deciding to reveal her secret to the lad, Iris was ready to meet him and tell him who she really was, opening the door to new pages of their interaction. Iris revealed she was one of the subjects of the great demon queen and a vampire, unveiling her true nature that had been hidden by many vampires. Rui was undoubtedly shocked by this unexpected news, and his emotions oscillated between surprise, respect, and slight anxiety in the face of the secrets and magic surrounding this mysterious vampire. With a mix of feelings, Rui dared to find out if this girl was the same vampire he might have always been looking for in his soul and in the world of secrets. Iris said that due to the small number of her kin, they were on the brink of extinction, inspiring Rui that before him was not just a mysterious vampire, but also a protector of her people, fighting for survival. Having unraveled the plan of destiny, Iris said her family was saved from extinction by Diyoza, who remained faithful to her past and her people, adding even more mystery and nobility to her eyes. As this gave these new details, Rui became increasingly shocked to understand the depths of the mystery and connections swirling around him, creating a web of mysterious relationships and debts. Realizing that Diyoza was trapped in endless hell, the protagonist realized his quest would become an even more difficult task, for endless hell is inaccessible. Iris finally discovered a lad in the capital, a man with magical powers comparable to the Demon King, which added new nuances to their encounter and relationship. Thus, this implies the lad who possesses the magical power of the Demon King is actually her true enemy, and reveals a new level of complexity in their relationship. Iris began to explain that there are only two ways to assume another's magical power. The first is to gradually take it over time, but this method isn't suitable for him due to his short life. Naturally, Rui disagreed with this because his life was extremely long, and this slow method wasn't an attractive option for him. Iris claimed his power came from the act he committed in killing Diyoza, which became the source of his magical power, to which he denied that such a thing had happened, stating that it was Diyoza herself who gave him such power, doubting the truth of her words. The girl couldn't believe Rui, as the idea that he received magical power from Diyoza herself seemed incredible to her. She decided there was no more sense in asking him further questions, as his answers caused final irritation and disappointment, leaving her in a state of dissatisfaction and incomprehension. The disposition to break right then took hold of her, and sparks of indignation gleamed in her eyes, stifled by anger at the perceived betrayal and the enigmas that ignited a dark flame within her. Iris, using the supreme blood lance, crossed the embodiment of her power, prepared for an act of revenge aimed at the border between light and darkness, emphasizing her determination and skill in battle. Rui didn't show much nervousness, for he believed in his strength and confidence that he could overcome all difficulties and win the next fight to ensure his protection. He activated the Satanic Ray, the incarnation of dark forces, ready to answer the challenge and stand by her side in the fight against the powerful Iris. In the blink of an eye, the bloodied lance vanished as if it had never existed, emphasizing the volatility of magic and the unpredictability of the outcome of this unusual battle. The girl refused to believe in his true power, for the idea of his strength was distorted in the eyes of her perplexed mind, unable to comprehend such magical greatness. From that moment on, she fell to her knees before the invincibility of shock, opening a new chapter in her understanding of the magic and power before her. Iris, overcoming her own perplexity, couldn't completely unravel the mystery of who he really was, remaining in the dark about the true nature of his power and essence. Rui began to explain that he was the same as the girl fighting to save her queen, which clarified his true motives and elucidated the paradoxes of their encounter in the world of magic and mysteries. Both having weathered the storm of confrontations and conversations, they sat on a log in the forest surrounded by silence that seemed to slowly restore balance in their relationship. The gal couldn't accept in her reality the truth that her queen was really alive. This fact, like a magical blow, deserved internal understanding and acceptance. Ready to be accountable for her actions, she was willing to accept any punishment that might come her way, offering her loyalty and remorse to her queen. Instead of suggesting punishment, he suggested they work together to save Diyoza, which reflected his willingness to cooperate and showed that he had a place in his heart for indulgence. To console her, he promised that the issue of punishment would be resolved after they worked together to save Diyoza, striving to find a balance between justice and mercy. Realizing that revealing the lives of both kings could lead to war, they realized they needed to be extremely careful and tactical to avoid additional difficulties and conflicts in a world where politics and forces could throw everything into chaos. At this point, Rui realized that revealing this information would make it difficult to seek help from anyone else, as it would raise questions about loyalty in the face of potential conflict. However, this didn't mean that everyone around him would automatically become enemies. There were those who could understand the difficult circumstances and remain neutral in this situation. As it turned out all this time, they were being watched by other vampires from afar, which added additional layers of intrigue and uncertainty to their already established story. A man named Bruno appeared before them, abruptly intervening in their destinies and introducing new elements into an already confusing scenario. Bruno revealed that even after 300 years, the Demon King remains the only master for them, instilling in them that the ties of the past cannot be easily broken. The man wasted no time and immediately asked Rui to become his subordinates, presenting choices and difficult trials before them. Bruno admitted that, before this, they had no clue whatsoever. But after 300 long years, they finally found the bridge to the Demon King, creating a new twist in the plot of their lives. Bruno revealed that Rui was their last hope as the key to unraveling the mysteries and ensuring their survival in a complex game of power and magic. To everyone's surprise, Rui easily agreed to the proposal, as if trust had awakened within them that this path would lead to new discoveries and opportunities. Iris, feeling responsible for the turmoil of their companions, apologized to Rui, trying to keep calm and resolve the misunderstanding that arose due to her sudden appearance. She explained that all their partners were simply extremely happy in some way, losing control and having an unexpected effect on those around them. Rui was also happy to have more friends, and in this whirlwind of events, found some joy and support in his journey. The gal sincerely admitted that she hoped to continue working with him, expressing her readiness to cooperate and develop their relationship. After all the incidents, Rui decided to rest a bit, giving themselves the opportunity to reflect on what had happened and look to the future with a new perspective. Rui, who remembered in a dream that his room smelled really nice, woke up with a feeling of mystery and enigma creeping up on him again, when he finally realized there was someone else in the room instead of him. He fell into a slight shock, not expecting such a turn of events, which added a new element of mystery to his adventure. In front of him, he saw a gal standing and cooking, creating an atmosphere of warmth and comfort in the room, which left him surprised, and with an incredible sense of surprise on the verge of a spring morning when the sun's rays gently embraced the earth. Iris greeted Rui, whose gaze was so deep that words seemed unnecessary in their invisible conversation, with a gaze full of tenderness. Iris told Rui about her culinary plans, promising him a breakfast like a magical symphony of flavors, and asked him to wait, leading him into a world of waiting. Rui was curious about what Iris was doing in his room. He was waiting for an explanation of how Iris got into his room. Iris, with a slight smile, explained that she was destined to be his assistant, as if fate had decided long ago that their paths intertwined to create a unique saga in their ordinary lives. Iris handed him her creation on a plate, like a gift, and warmly admitted that she put not only skill into this breakfast, but also all her love. Iris's breakfast really looked delicious. The vibrant colors, the delightful aroma, and the rich variety of dishes created the promise of a magical morning feast. Rui, enjoying a magnificent breakfast, sincerely thanked Iris for this banquet, in which every flavor, like a note of a melody, sounded succulent and memorable. When he finally decided to try something with his own hands, Rui realized how deliciously Iris could cook, weaving a piece of her inner warmth into every culinary masterpiece. In the classroom atmosphere, the gal decided to introduce herself, as if she were revealing her story in new nuances, creating a mysterious excitement among her classmates. This time, she introduced herself to everyone in the room, ready to weave new stories with her class. Of course, everyone in the class was surprised by this unexpected attitude, with looks of amazement. Charlotte stood out with her displeasure, as if the disharmony caused by the unexpected turn of events in the class resonated in her heart. With her appearance and facial expression, Charlotte literally conveyed to everyone that she was deeply unhappy with this situation, as if her internal rebellion were transmitted to the whole class. Charlotte, with a look of urgency, demanded an immediate explanation from her boyfriend, as if demanding clarity in the nebulous web of mysterious events unfolding in her class. In a whirlwind of excitement and uncertainty, Iris intervened for some unknown reason, deciding to embrace Rui, as if eclipsing the moment and breaking the tension that had enveloped the class. Rui made every effort to reconcile Charlotte and Iris, as if protecting them from misunderstandings and unnecessary tensions that could cloud the air in the classroom. After some time, they finally calmed down and found common ground, and sat in the classroom like the only harmony in the world after a storm of uncertainties. Rui decided that what was to come, written on the board, was already important, and he peeked at the next chapter, like a puzzle ready to unfold before him. The teacher stood in front of the class, asserting that it wasn't the race that mattered, but those who had overcome the force wall, receiving a special mark, as if drawing attention to the strength of the inner spirit that could overcome any barriers. When the teacher asked who knew anything about this royal mark, one of the boys raised his hand energetically, as if he were ready to reveal the secrets he had learned in his quest. He began to explain that when one thinks of a special royal mark, what comes to mind is the Dragon King and the Demon King, two monarchs who are completely different from each other in their essence. As demon kings, they become the embodiment of fierce power, their power piercing through darkness and causing tremors in the hearts of those who dare to cross their path. In a martial arts tournament, participants will battle against the former demon king, and the winner will join the ranks of the elite, thereby becoming the next lord, thus passing on the title of a demon with exceptional magical power. Of course, in this fascinating story, Iris saw her destiny reflected as if in a mirror, where magic and adventure are intimately intertwined with her own story. Unlike demons, dragon kings are born with the mark of a king, inherited from their royal family. From this moment on, they are destined to become dragon lords, but they carry the burden of this title from birth. The teacher announced that the next step would be practice, but emphasized that this time their mentor would be a different teacher, as if introducing a mysterious change in the lesson routine. Everyone was surprised by the news that they would now have a teacher with a royal mark, as if the sudden appearance of this mysterious teacher caused surprise and excitement in the class. Rui realized that he now had ample opportunities to acquire new knowledge and experience, as if the imminent training under the guidance of a teacher with a royal mark promised to be exciting and useful. The teacher questioned the legitimacy of the students, as if probing their connection to a mysterious and influential educational institution. The man introduced himself as a wandering swordsman named Kojiro and announced that he would be instructing them for a while, introducing a dose of mystery and adventure into the class. Charlotte, full of curiosity, asked how powerful this man was, as if his strength hid secrets capable of captivating the imagination. The man invited them to face him in a duel, challenging them to find out how strong he was, as if he were provoking them to reveal their true strength and skill. The whole class was eager to meet a great battle master, as if the flame of passion and excitement ignited in their hearts, creating an atmosphere of expectation. Wolf, with a burning desire for battle, expressed his willingness to fight first, as if he were ready to accept the challenge and show his skills before the Grand Master. Kojiro announced that Wolf and Michael could attack him together, offering them a unique opportunity to test their strength in an alliance against the Grand Master of the Sword. Then, he drew his sword, as if unveiling the hidden mystery in the blade, and prepared for the impending battle. The man decided to shake their confidence, questioning whether they were afraid of the possibility of losing together, challenging their determination and courage. Their dissatisfaction grew, as if he didn't take them seriously, making them even more determined to prove their strength. Kojiro noticed the strong spirit in them and wondered what would come out of that fight, as if he saw their determination and energy, or the potential for something unexpected and grand. Then he announced that he was ready for battle, with a gleam of determination and experience in his eyes, ready to test his strength. Next, the man propelled himself away from the ground as if flying into the air, and in his movements one could already read the grace of an experienced warrior, ready for battle. Wolf didn't even have time to react when the swordmaster silently and efficiently approached, creating the sensation that the battle had begun even before Wolf's first strike. Compared to the swordmaster, Wolf seemed surprisingly slow, as if time had slowed down, highlighting the gap in skill and experience. Michael couldn't afford to lose this battle, as if his determination was filled with a burning desire to overcome the challenge and prove his strength. So, he used a technique called bomb, as if suddenly revealing his arsenal of techniques to bring surprise to the battle. At this point, the man had already admitted that the situation had become somewhat dangerous, as if the internal fire of their passions was fueling the fight to the point of maximum tension. They were furious when they saw that not even some blows hit their target, as if anger and disappointment were igniting the flame of determination within them. Kojiro dodged the guy's attack, as if grace and skill appeared in his movements, making it clear that for him such attacks were just an easy testing phase. And then, with ease and skill, he threw Wolf several meters away from him, as if demonstrating superiority and control in this duel. Michael couldn't give up, because it would mean his dignity would suffer. He stood resolutely ready to accept the challenge and continue the battle. He was ready to use his strongest magic, like a thrilling moment when he summoned his inner strength for the final decisive attack. Michael was slightly surprised that the man didn't try to defend himself, but decided that if so, he would try to attack harder. The guy decided to use his longest-range bomb, as if he was creating a vortex of energy that would swallow everyone around him. But Kojiro still remained motionless, as if his equanimity and steadfastness were a strong shield against the vortex. After a while, a smile appeared on his face and he was ready to attack, as if his gaze contained wisdom and confidence in the imminent action. And right at that moment, he did what he had in mind, as if the moment exploded in a powerful blow that left only an echo behind him. Michael couldn't believe what was happening, as if the world around him was distorted, reflecting the improbability and hopelessness of what happened. The man asked if they could continue, as if their inner determination and passion for battle were now advancing to the next level, making them want to go further. But Michael's strength and desire to continue disappeared. He realized he had lost and ended up giving up, as if admitting defeat to the strength of an experienced opponent. Everyone present was shocked that the man had defeated them so easily, as if his skill had surpassed their expectations and caused them uncontrollable admiration. Rui was confident that now, after this fight, he would become better, as if in each defeat he saw an opportunity for his own growth and improvement. The protagonist took the sword in his hands, as if feeling the weight of the weapon, preparing for the next challenge that would take his skills to the next level. The man noticed that the main character's shoulders were too tense again and advised him to move the weight down, as if he were sharing his experience and suggesting how to improve his technique. He admitted that he was a nobody before, but for a clearer understanding, he added that he is now confident in his abilities and knows who he really is. His persistence gave him a mark, like an achievement incentive that showed his journey and efforts in becoming someone important. The man decided that his future task would be to train the prince, as if a new chapter had opened before him in their shared history, full of lessons and adventures. James said that he personally trains the prince, that the man doesn't need it, as if his words convey confidence in his abilities and responsibility for Yuri's training. There was clearly tension between the two, as if there was uncertainty and dissatisfaction in the air, creating an atmosphere of tension. James said that this was his duty and that he could not do otherwise, as if he was emphasizing his devotion and determination to fulfill his duties. But Yuri said that the guy shouldn't worry. Kojiro didn't interfere in all this anymore. When Kojiro asked if anyone else wanted it, Michael and Wolf immediately reached out to him. James didn't think the man was bad, but he couldn't let others get close to the prince without doing something special, and Yuri was happy to have such a guard. Rui realized that they really had a strong connection. The main character said that today James would teach him. Kojiro, however, suggested starting his training. Rui was clearly alarmed. He didn't look well. Something was really bothering him, and he wasn't doing a good job of hiding it. He couldn't understand how such a situation could happen. He was certain that it should never happen. Charlotte couldn't understand why Rui always went with him and trusted him. It was clear to her from the beginning that this was a bad idea. Iris realized that she should be with the main character and should also think about his rebellious behavior. She still didn't have enough to ruin everything for her master. Usually Wolf was with them too, but this time was an exception. The main character was asked how he was doing by the same stranger he had met when called. Frederic appeared in front of him. Rui heard that Frederic had gotten into some kind of fight again. This was clearly not a good sign for him. Frederic asked the main character who was next to him. He introduced his girlfriend Charlotte and her friend Iris. Frederic noticed that they were very happy. The guy said he had information that Rui would like. As it turned out, Frederic found a dungeon nearby, not far from them. The main character really became interested after hearing this, but the girl, on the contrary, became cautious after that. Frederic decided to tell Rui this information because they could have a connection with the hero the guy was working so hard on. Rui's expression instantly changed. He was ready to dive in head first. Frederic told the guy that he was glad he could interest Rui, and he found the entrance there, but there's a pretty strong seal on it. So far, no one has entered, and there is also a symbol on that seal. The symbol actually had an unusual shape, and more specifically the shape of a petal or flower. Surprisingly, Charlotte had the exact same symbol on her sword as this model. As it turned out, this was the family mark of the hero family. It was not simple, but truly legendary and significant, so there was a high probability that this dungeon had some kind of connection with the hero, which could play into the main character's favor. A girl named Kazak was very interested in what awaited them for the treasure inside the dungeon. Frederic noticed that the girl had a very unusual way of speaking, and furthermore asked her where she was from. Kazak was born and raised in London. Now the guy understands where she got that dialect from. Charlotte couldn't understand why Wolf didn't go with them today, but as it turned out, today he is training with Michael after the fight with Kojiro. The two began to train very hard and diligently, which would bear fruit in the future. Just at that moment, Rui noticed Kojiro sitting nearby, who he remembered a few seconds ago. It was clear that Rui had a lot of questions, and one of them was about what the teacher forgot here. The man admitted that he was told that effective medicinal herbs grew here, so he was looking for them. The guy admitted that he wasn't here because they were actually going to see what was in the dungeon. Kojiro warned the students that this could be dangerous, especially since this dungeon is new and it is unknown what kind of monsters and traps are there. Rui assured Kojiro that they would not play there, and if it was dangerous, they would leave the dungeon immediately. But either way, they need to go there no matter what. Kojiro agrees to this if they take him with them so he can look after them and help if something happens. Kojiro has provided the children with a homemade regenerative potion that works on scratches and bruises, but they still must be extremely careful on this expedition because the potion will not be able to save them from ultimate death if something happens. Rui was grateful for how kind the teacher was being to them throughout, especially at this moment. Now they were clearly ready to start exploring the dungeon, which was full of many mysteries and treasures. After some relatively short time, they finally arrived at the dungeon. It's not that this was a new dungeon. The ruins had always been there, but Frederic thought they had been looted. But about a week ago, he accidentally found the entrance down there, which served as the discovery of this mysterious dungeon. Near the dungeon was a group of people consisting of 5 people. They were diligently trying to find something, but they were currently resting. Kazak shared her opinion that this group of people seemed unpleasant, and she wouldn't particularly like to be around them for long. The gaze of the tired men immediately fell on the girl, and indeed her appearance and gaze were not the most pleasant. Very angry and cold, they rudely asked what they needed and why they came here. The men thought someone had already arrived, but it turned out to be just children, which clearly made them laugh. The next people they approached were Charlotte and Iris. They told them it was dangerous here. It was better for them not to be here. Otherwise, the consequences could be dire. If they walked around here, the bad adults would catch them. This behavior made Charlotte very angry. Although she didn't completely show her emotions, you could still tell that she was unhappy about it. Iris even said that if they wanted to flirt, they should take care of themselves first because their behavior was disgusting. The man was speechless after such words. Clearly, he didn't expect to hear this from the students at the school. They expected them to be afraid of them and run away immediately. The man instantly became furious and even pulled out a knife, saying the girls would regret not taking him seriously. For unknown reasons, he decided to start with Rui, so he charged at the guy and was ready to attack. It was clear that Rui easily dodged this attack, did not cause him any harm. Then the main character started attacking the man to show that the man had no right to talk to them like that. Strangely, in a second, the man simply fell to the ground unconscious after such a blow from Rui. The fallen man's partners could not understand at all why these children were so strong, and everyone was ready to show them their place. Frederic realized that the 3 of them would not enter so quickly, so something needed to be done to speed up this process. But everyone knew how much Frederic liked fun, so this fight had to be memorable and fun. But the men didn't care about the threats from Frederic and the others, because there were more of them, and he saw this as an opportunity. Frederic used a magic that created a clay creature. In any case, this was a bad sign for the men, because now they certainly had no chance of winning. This creature had a truly menacing appearance. With its mere appearance, it could scare many pseudo-heroes, as in this case, that men are already shaking in fear. The man told the others not to dare to retreat, because they must remain until the end, no matter what. The man even managed to hit the creature and slightly pierce its thick ball of clay, but the problem was that after such a blow, he simply couldn't pull out his weapon that was stuck. Frederic gave the command for the group to begin battles and quickly advanced to the dungeon, after which the golem delivered an incredible blow with such force that the earth shook. Then the partners saw their already unconscious friend lying on the floor. A reckless man who was in a similar situation told Rui and Iris not to move, otherwise unexpected things could happen to everyone. Turning around, they saw in front of them a man holding a knife right in front of Kazak's throat. He asked pathetically if they knew what would happen if they moved. Asking again, only this time he raised his tone, or if they understood what was happening. And right after those words, there was no trace of the man's sword left. It was not clear in that who and how the sword was simply cut in half, which radically changed the whole situation. As it turned out, it was Kazak's doing, because with the noise his baby woke up. This baby was an abnormally large praying mantis, which instantly attacked the stranger. The insect immediately started attacking the man to protect the girl. The Kazakh woman immediately began apologizing to her friend and told him they were already breaking up. Frederick had no idea this creature existed, and next time he would have to ask permission to look at it and find out more. The men decided to attack the opponents, counting on numerical superiority, and their only argument was that there were many of them and there were only a few enemies. The girl decided that once one of her creatures woke up, she needed to wake up the others. Suddenly, a multitude of abnormally large insects appeared, and their origins remained a mystery, but now their numbers were impressive. The man was instantly startled by what he saw, and this seemed quite natural given the strangeness of what was happening. Stunned by the inexplicable, the man felt instant fear with fear in his heart. Kazak warmly began to express his gratitude to his friends for the help they provided, pouring words into their contributions to his life with warmth and sincerity. Charlotte and Iris, noticing the main character, immediately began to find out if everything was okay with him, showing concern and great interest in his well-being. Rui, happy with the victory over his enemies, realized that it was important that they not remember them, and now he had to do everything possible to erase their trace from their memories. The main character suddenly began to use an unknown technique, shrouding his actions in an aura of mystery and causing interest and surprise among those around him. As it turned out, this was what his teachers had taught him, and now he applied what he had learned with confidence and skill. By channeling electricity through his head, Rui discovered he could effectively manipulate memories, erasing parts of the past and leaving behind traces of uncertainty. Waking up, the man was surprised to discover that he did not recognize any of them, and a blank sheet opened in his memory, as if the pages of memories had been erased. After some time, they found themselves in the jungle, and the place itself seemed truly mysterious, as if nature itself kept its secrets and sacraments here. Just a few seconds later, the mysterious seal that Frederic had spoken of appeared in front of them, as if the prophetic moment of their adventure had come true. Furthermore, this seal turned out to be extremely durable, which only increased the difficulty before them and added new puzzles to their already difficult task. Frederic wondered if he could ask Charlotte for a small favor, revealing the hope of her friendly assistance in this mysterious journey. It is unclear why the main character suddenly held Charlotte's hand, as if trying to talk her out of something or warn her of an invisible danger. Rui asked Charlotte not to try too hard if she was doing it for him, and resolutely began to investigate whether it was possible to somehow remove the mysterious seal they are under. It is clear that the girl was outraged by Rui's reaction, expressing her dissatisfaction and incomprehension in response to Rui's sudden appeal. Thanking Rui for his care, she noted that his attention was important not only for her, but also for her own well-being. She also wanted to know what her ancestor was like and see with her own eyes the story that formed the basis of her own origins. That's why she has nothing to fear. She strives to reveal the secrets of her past and moves forward with confidence, removing fear from the equation. Charlotte then began the process of removing the mysterious seal, opening before her a surprising path to uncover secrets and reconnect with the past. After some time, she managed to achieve a positive result, and that mysterious seal was finally successfully removed, opening new horizons and secrets to them. At this moment, Frederic smiled widely, confident that Charlotte would handle the task and completely believing in her support, supporting her to the end even though there was nothing special within him. It was thanks to the hero's granddaughter that success was achieved in removing the seal, otherwise all efforts could have been in vain. The protagonist's gaze disappeared, and for unclear reasons, he was called and ordered to stand, creating a mysterious moment in his own story. As he turned around, he noticed 3 strangers standing in front of him, creating a sudden tension and mystery in the air. Now there were many more people in the jungle than expected, creating an environment that none of them had anticipated. The boy asked permission to join them from the dungeon, expressing a desire to go through the trials seen and secrets hidden in these mysterious places. Rui wondered who they were, as he could not allow them to join together without understanding their identity and goals in this mysterious place. After apologizing, the boy explained that he didn't want to scare them, introducing himself as Max, the leader of a group called Dejal, making excuses for his sudden appearance in front of Rui. The blue-haired girl was called Gima and was a thief, expressing her pleasure in meeting her with a wave of her hand, adding that it was a pleasure to meet her. The third girl was evil despite her rookie status. She was a mage, which added interest to this unpredictable group. Max reassured them, telling them not to be afraid, as they were only at the lowest level in their group, urging them not to judge by first impressions. Realizing they couldn't do it alone, they decided to ask Rui if he could help them on their difficult journey by revealing their own purpose and motivation. It turned out that they were silently watching their fight emerging from the shadows. Max apologized for not being able to intervene and help them at that time. Charlotte asked if there was any advantage for them to come together and help, finding out how they could benefit from this alliance. Max began to explain that despite their weakness, they had a lot of experience in the jungle and knew how to discover traps, treasures, and secret passages, which their new acquaintances did not know how to do. In fact, it was true that they did not know at all how to deal with traps, find treasures, and discover hidden passages in the jungle. They decided to discuss all aspects of the situation and make a collective decision on how to move forward with this group and what steps to take on their journey together. Max suggested that if they couldn't come to a decision, they could look at the magical items they had, hoping that might clarify their next steps. The boy took off the charge ring that absorbs the magical power of whoever puts it on and stores this energy within himself. Rui's heart was touched by this magical item, and it became clear to him that this treasure would be useful to him in future adventures. It turns out that the ring drained Max's magical power, but released some of it that didn't enter his inner sphere, creating an interesting interest in the use of this magical item. The next item was the body-changing medal, which when placed around the neck, promised to protect against any attack, adding a new element of security to the collection of magical artifacts. Kazek wasn't entirely happy about this, because this pendant would break with a light attack. After Max suggested the next item, the main character relented and gave permission for them to join them on their difficult journey. The group was delighted with this news, as they now had a chance to survive in this dangerous dungeon with the support of experienced comrades. Charlotte wasn't sure that everything would be okay and was a little nervous about it, keeping a cautious optimism in her heart. After that, the entire group, now united, entered deep into the dungeon, ready for the new adventures and challenges that awaited them. Max warned his allies that if they faced a strong enemy, it was better to flee, creating a strategy to guarantee their safety in difficult situations. It turns out that the group's true intention was to take all the treasure for themselves, raising questions about trust and consistency on their journey together. Having caught up with the main character, Max said that he had decided to talk about the jungle, revealing to them more information about the place and possible dangers. It is better to be careful. There must be a trap in such a corridor, for example, a copy emerging from the floor or an arrow. Just as Max was talking about the button on the floor, Rui accidentally stepped on it, creating a tense moment and raising questions about following the warnings. However, now everyone clearly understood what Max had warned, looking at what happened with some amazement. Within a second, a huge stone block appeared over people's heads, creating a shadow of fear and forcing them to react quickly to possible danger. The main character undoubtedly felt guilty at this moment, realizing that it was because of him that all these events were developing in this direction. The main character turned to Max with a request for action, as it was situations like that that brought them into the group to solve such problems. Max instructed Ma to lead since she was a mage, emphasizing her skills in magic and the need to use them in this situation. The girl conjured a medium magic arrow and shot it directly towards the huge rock, quickly reacting to the threat and trying to nullify the potential danger. Max slowly realized that in front of him was a stone devoid of magical power, which was why the girl's spell remained ineffective, like a fruitless plan doomed to futility. Remembering how the Golden Adventurer cut a similar stone, hearing that the stone could not be broken with an ordinary stone, the main character excitedly cheered up and instantly ran towards her, pushing aside obstacles in his path. After pondering the power of his meteor fist technique, he decided to use it to break the mysterious stone, embodying power and determination in the act. The group marveled at how the boy actually managed to break that mysterious stone, joyfully welcoming his success and absorbing the energy of his victory. Iris carefully asked the boy to show more reason in such situations, reminding him of the possible dangers and risks that could be lurking along the way. He had not yet encountered many different traps and obstacles on his way. Sometimes they faced situations in which they needed to work together to overcome difficulties. Frederick noticed that they had already come a long way, but had not yet discovered any treasure, causing him some concern. The main character said that there was an additional deeper path, and suggested continuing the search along that route. Understanding that the greatest can come when they discover a way out for themselves, or can devise a cunning plan that will help deceive everyone around them, it is clear that he felt deep gratitude for the good fortune of meeting such distinguished comrades on this strange journey. Noticing that vast spaces were opening up in places they had not previously penetrated, the protagonist assumed that they were probably in the depths of the dungeon. Rui's gaze deepened into the distance, and his expression suddenly changed, acquiring a touch of fear and awe, not seeing the slightest hint of a ball of flying magic in front of him. They began to wonder if they were finding one of the most precious treasures hidden in the mysterious depths of the dungeon. It was difficult to unravel what exactly was being revealed before their eyes. A mysterious, vague, and incomprehensible manifestation that captured the imagination of everyone present. And suddenly, out of nowhere, the words of some mysterious voice were heard, announcing that he was testing reactions to life and starting to analyze the hero's genetic code. Having successfully completed the operation, the process of transferring information to both of them began. Iris didn't have time to react, and in an instant the main character seemed to disappear, dissolving into unknown spaces. With an added shock, they discovered that not only the boy, but also Charlotte had disappeared. No one could understand how this could have happened. Max was also at a dead end, unable to explain what happened, as this was the first time he had encountered such a phenomenon. Kazak wisely asked Iris to ward off panic, reminding her that calm is the best ally in resolving difficult situations. Iris immediately began apologizing to Max for her uncontrolled impulse, realizing that lost emotions don't always help calmly solve mysteries. Max realized that his disappearance resembled displacement magic. They were probably transported to another room. Frederick had an unpleasant premonition of trouble. He noticed that the sphere carefully examined and then transported two of them. It seemed to remove them, allowing us to continue on our way, but unfortunately left us with the sudden disappearance of their comrades under the influence of a magical sphere Frederick had warned, finally penetrated Max's consciousness, forcing him to think about the mysterious influences of the Force and the possible consequences of this unusual event. The magical sphere seemed to take inventory of the two, transporting them into the unknown, while the others remained outside, deprived of explanation and the opportunity to join. It was because of this irrepressible decision to end all communications with them that a mysterious rock structure appeared before their eyes, rising like a mighty giant from ancient times. The remaining group of people were confused, facing misunderstandings, helplessly wondering about their next steps. Why among those who left were those who possessed incomparable strength and wisdom? At the same moment, the main character suddenly woke up, realizing that his face was blinded by an intense snow-white light, as if a bright beam was piercing directly into his eyes. It was at this moment that it became clear to them that only the two of them were transported to this mysterious place, and no one else shared this mysterious configuration with them. Charlotte remained hopeful that the others were okay. In turn, she decided that they should worry about their safety, leaving them on the back burner. It was obviously much more dangerous here than in the previous place, and the girl, sensing the threat immediately, grabbed her sword ready for any surprises. The main character's gaze turned to the girl's hand resting on the sword, and at that moment something mysterious and unknown flashed in her eyes. Cautiously, the boy took her hand and gently asked her not to resort to such actions, arguing that it was unnecessary and not required in this situation. Furthermore, he explained that he was with her to somehow reassure her, because in the face of this difficult and intense situation, any support becomes important. After these words, Charlotte was suddenly confused. Confusion flashed across her face, and she became embarrassed, as if she hadn't expected such attention. She noted that she herself was capable of defending herself, But if he wanted to, then so be it, she would agree, allowing him to take care of her protection. It was clear that the boy would not argue about this, and only added that he was ready to become his knight, giving him a sense of security in this mysterious and dangerous world. A stranger in a rather dirty and ancient costume wandered not far from them, attracting attention with his mysterious presence in this world full of secrets. Before they entered the ruins, there was no one here, and so this stranger became a mystery to them, adding mystery and uncertainty to their adventure. With sword in hand, Rui asked who stood before them, eager to discover the stranger's identity and learn more about who had joined their strange adventures. In response, he announced that he was waiting for them to take on the hero's legacy and share his intentions, taking responsibility for the next stage of his journey, explaining that he posed no threat. He politely invited them to join him, with a silent gesture inviting them to come closer and reveal new aspects of his fateful journey. Having no other option, the two who came decided to follow him, following the mysterious stranger in hopes of new discoveries and unlocking the secrets of this strange world. Moving forward, they discovered something that left them completely shocked and surprised, making their hearts skip a beat from unpredictable surprises in this mysterious place. An extremely old painting of historical significance was spread out before them, right on the wall, arousing their respect and incredible admiration for the greatness of the past brought to life by this work of art. The painting depicted the majestic hero, his appearance coming to life on an ancient canvas, revealing mysterious stories and deeds to them, plunging them into the depths of time. This painting showed the third generation of the hero. His powerful figure and expressive features remained in the audience's surprise, as if opening a page of history that had previously been forgotten. The stranger decided to answer all their questions in sequence, preparing to reveal the secrets and provide them with the keys to understand what was happening in this incredible historical place. The answers must have surprised them, causing surprise not only in the results, but also increasing their interest in what lies in the depths of this mysterious story. He sincerely admitted that his face was in a terrible state, soaked with time and rotten marks, creating a mysterious contrast between his history and appearance. He couldn't even remember his name, but it was because of his rotten face that he felt disgusted with himself, considering himself a kind of zombie in this mysterious and nebulous past. This was the place where Lord Ogre the hero's data protection was controlled, where secrets and important information were kept, giving them the feeling that they had entered the core of the secrets and mysteries of this historical past. He is an integral part of this place, destined to correctly reveal the meaning of the fresco. He has been waiting for a long time for the right people who are able to unlock the secrets and penetrate the depths of the images presented in the work of art. Hey guys, if you want the continuation, leave a like and subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. Thank you very much and see you in the next video.